are going to talk about why Nintendo is the big winner coming out of a very dramatic week in the industry.
Dramatic's a good word for it. You could also say nuts.
Yes.
Where everybody was on edge, and all of the three big platform holders
had a thing.
Had kind of a piece of pretty bad news come out.
Yes.
But in the end, I think Nintendo somehow, as they often do, just skirts through and is going to come out on top from all of this tumult.
Yes, but we're going to talk about all of it. We're going to break down what happened during the Xbox business update. We're going to talk about Sony's financial outlook. We're going to talk about the potential rumored delays for Switch 2 and just get the pieces together and see what is going on in this games industry. You can't make this stuff up, people, but that is coming up in just a minute.
You're also back amongst the living, which is nice to see.
Back! I was just thinking this morning, like, when you're sick, you just feel like you're never going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, I was dealing with a really high fever and a really sore throat. And, like, during that illness, it's like, my throat's never going to not be sore.
This is it. This is your life now.
This is my life now.
Yeah.
Like, every time I swallow, it's going to feel like needles. That's what it is going to be. And then, like, you just get better, you know? And then you're like, wow, the human body is amazing. Like, we could just, like, come around. You now feel totally fine. It's like a distant memory of my fever dream.
I saw some comments on the last episode, like, she looks bored out of her mind.
I wasn't bored. I felt so bad.
Yes.
Like, I really did not feel well at all. Towards the end of the episode, too, I just was like, I can't do this. But yes, I'm back. We're back in the studio.
I'm glad you're back and completely better as you talk directly into my face.
I'm going to talk to you right now. Here comes
the particles. The particles. This is going to be the big test. But guess what? We are going to be structuring this episode a little bit differently.
We are.
So we're hitting the news button right now. Play the music.
Oh my gosh.
Play the news music. Oh my God, that's News' music.
The News' music.
Yes, as News runs out of the tunnel and into the ring. We have to start with the news because so much happened and we want to get right into it. This is a great. I'm really happy with how much stuff we have in this episode. We're doing a character bracket for Princess Peach.
We are.
We have a great story about Mr. Iwata, which we've been just had it in our back pocket all these years.
I'll just say three things. You, Mr. Iwata, and the head of Ubisoft trapped in a closet. Sounds like the start of a bad joke.
No, it's not an R. Kelly song.
Or like a priest, a rabbi, and a whatever walk into a bar. It's not that.
No, it's not an offensive joke either. But that's to come.
Oh my God.
We have to start because we're on week 3 of Nintendo Direct Watch. And as we say with every episode, we record these early in the week. By the time this comes out, the thing could have happened. But we've said that the last 2 weeks, and it hasn't happened. No. But there seems to be a lot. The rumor mill wheels are turning and indicating that this might be the big week.
Yes.
With the usual cast of characters out there hinting things. Old Puro, the old bird, is really
just chirping away over there.
Come out of the slumber and is pretty blatantly saying, this is the week.
Saying this is the week, but cryptically tweeting ridiculous things.
I'm not sure it's very cryptic. Specific things. Seems like every day there's some new specific thing of like, hey, look for this. Hey, look for that.
Something about Pokemon, I think.
Well, don't fall into the trap. It's a Game Freak. Game Freak could be more than Pokemon.
And then there is some heat about Dolphin, which means could lead to GameCube. I mean, it's just a lot of chitter chatter.
Right. So I was not surprised or shocked when this didn't happen the last couple of weeks, but with all the usual people coming out and saying pretty definitively, seems like something might be up this week. Yeah,
we'll see. Hilariously, once more during a pretty heated Direct Watch week, you are once again on vacation.
I'm available if I need to be.
Are you really?
It's not a big deal.
I didn't know that.
It's okay.
I was like, but solo react. Here we go, baby.
Depends what you need me to do. If you need me to be physically in this building, I don't know if I can swing that, but.
But I was thinking like maybe it's my week to shine once again.
Great.
I'm just kidding.
Well, now we've proven that we can do it. It's not
ideal.
It's not this impossible like wall that you're like, oh, I'm just gonna fall to pieces as I try and do this. No, it's like we've done plenty of stuff by ourselves. Not
I
a big
know,
deal.
but it's not the best.
No.
But it always happens when one of us is on vacation. So maybe that's another
they have terrible timing.
Proof point that it is actually going to happen this week because of course somebody's on vacation.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
One of the things that was getting out there was people saying, well, if this was going to be at a different time, but they had to move it because of this Xbox
the business update
thing that they were doing, which I could see some scenarios where that happens because, we'll get into the Xbox thing next. I do think there's going to be some content from that in this, that, some of their games that are coming to Switch. And you kind of can't put the cart before the horse. You need to let them get out front with their
strategy
plans and their strategy and tell people what's what before you just start willy-nilly announcing games.
Right. And it takes a lot for Nintendo to move a Direct. Like, we've been in situations before when we were working at Nintendo and
often, natural disasters.
Yeah, it's usually,
calamities.
I was just going to say, some sort of act of God kind of natural disaster has delayed Directs in the past. But Xbox is obviously a huge, not only a competitor, but sometimes a partner as well. And Nintendo is highly motivated to keep relationships with Xbox.
It's like if you're on a second date, you're on your best behavior.
You got to be on your best behavior.
I need to reschedule the dinner to 7:30. Okay.
Yeah, you got to
whatever you need.
You got to play nice. You can't just it's not some rando that you're just going to ghost or whatever.
Right,
You're going to have to play nice with Xbox. And so I can see that discussion happening at the highest levels and Phil probably personally making those kinds of asks of Nintendo. And if that happens, I think that Nintendo would delay or would work with Xbox on the proper timing for it. But yeah, it makes sense. You want them to come out first, and then if they're announcing games for Switch, and Phil was pretty clear, I'm not going to announce the games right now, I'll let them do it. So it was pretty, obvious that it was going to be somewhere else.
And,
probably a Direct.
One of the consistent things that's been said is that this is going to be a partner Direct. That seems to still be the case. That does make things, perhaps for Nintendo, slightly easier to move things around.
Exactly.
But...
Exactly.
As they say, when will our watch be ended? Whomst to know? Who's shalt know?
We're like the Game of Thrones night watch.
Exactly.
Now. Yeah, the night watch has always been watching. Apparently,
it never ends. It
never ends.
But it has been interesting to there was real disappointment last week when we got again. Hour by hour in the mornings, every day in the morning when you get past 7 o'clock our time.
I was
And nothing happens. There was tangible disappointment, which I thought was interesting because I think most people were feeling like this is not going to be the world's greatest Nintendo Direct. So it's you want a thing to happen, but the thing you're waiting for,
it's going to kind of suck.
You feel like you're going to be complaining about. Yeah. So I didn't really feel any way about it.
Yeah, I think people are now just very much on the conspiracy board, with the string and the pins.
Yeah.
Because I think people have hinged the idea of depending on what this Direct has in it, and the scope of this Direct, it is pointing. It's like a crystal ball to the rest of the year for Nintendo. What does it mean? There's a lot of sort of connective tissue that people are trying to wring out of this Direct. So I think that's actually causing more angst.
That's a good point.
Than what's the content of it.
Or it is also this needs to happen before the Switch 2 can get it. It's like when your mom says I've got something for you, but you need to do your homework first.
Take out the garbage first.
Right. Yeah, so it's fine, I'll do it.
You gotta do it. Right. Yeah. But then it's you're just kind of waiting around for these steps to get checked off the list or whatever. And I think that's causing people to have some angst.
Okay.
I certainly was on the hour watch last week and we were you're like, well, what is your angle?
It may have been
hour by hour.
It may have been the amount of NyQuil that you had consumed, but you were really living and dying hour by hour. Oh my god, 5 minutes to go, we're gonna find out.
And then nothing. I was like, nothing happened.
You gotta calm down.
I was refreshing. We were on the phone. I was like, I need to know what's happening.
You need to go take your 19th nap of the day.
Yeah, and then I slept for 21 hours straight. Anyways,
great.
But it's interesting how just to watch all of it play out and see people's reactions and stuff. It is fascinating to watch.
Well, next up on the News Watch is the Xbox thing. We'll take a little break to say this episode's sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Thank you.
Thank you, ExpressVPN. So I'd like to share some mind-blowing information with you. If you are searching for something on, let's say, Netflix, what you get back is actually only a fraction of what they have available.
Yes.
And a lot of what they have is kind of linked to different regions of the world. So if if you're in the United States, but you're looking for something that's available in, let's say, Europe, you ain't gonna get it.
Right.
Unless you use ExpressVPN.
Yeah, you can use the app to change your online location, and then you can have access to so much more content.
You have literally done this.
No, I do this all the time.
Yes.
I literally do this all the time. I do it when I'm in the US and I want to watch shows, especially like Korean dramas or Japanese anime that we don't get here, or it's just not available in the US. Like, that is the only way you can do it. And I need my K-drama people. So guess what I was doing when I was sick for a week? Yeah, I was watching Netflix.
Yes.
But the other really cool thing is if you're traveling and you don't want to miss out on your US shows.
Yes.
Like, you can do the other way. So I was in China last year for almost a month, and I was doing that, so I didn't miss out on any of the US shows.
Perfect.
It's really amazing, and it's so easy to use as well.
Yeah, you just open up ExpressVPN and just click through to whatever country you want to use. It's that easy, and they also encrypt your data, so they're protecting your privacy and security along the way to keep you safe from those pesky hackers. So stop missing out on great TV and get thousands of new shows with ExpressVPN. We got them to give you guys 3 extra months free when you use our special link, expressvpn.com/KitandKrysta. That's expressvpn.com/KitandKrysta to get 3 extra months completely free.
Wow, free is great. We'll leave the
free.
link right over here and also in the description below.
Next up,
all right,
we have the Xbox business update, which ended up being a very special episode of the Xbox podcast.
Right.
Which was a bit of a different format for them. It was Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty.
And then Tina was the host.
Right,
Tina's
our good
awesome.
friend Tina Amini was the host. And it was only about 20 minutes long or so, but they went through some big topics. It felt like it was partially
a response.
Responding to some of the internet angst and, what was probably originally the news that they were planning to share.
Right.
And I got the sense that people came away from that feeling a little bit lukewarm about it. Like, that was not as much as I expected, or it was much ado about nothing, but I thought it was good. I always enjoy hearing directly from Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
I think he's always very good at...
He's very honest, it seems, when he's out there.
Right.
Well, at least that's the persona he gives off.
Right, but then also, like, these conversations online had reached such a negative point, like, they kind of had to do a little bit more than just, press the press release button.
The play button, yeah.
Right, so there's a couple chunks of news here. We can go through all of them. So... they announced that there are 4 Xbox games coming to other platforms, and in kind of a bizarro twist, they were like playing 20 questions. Like,
what are the 4?
Is it Starfield and Indiana Jones? Well, no, Tina, I can confirm it's definitely not those. So they didn't come out and say what they were, but they were kind of dancing around like what they could be. So there's like, there's some of these are smaller games.
They said over a year old.
That are over a year old.
They have met, the criteria was like, it has to be over a year old. It has met sort of reached the maximum.
It's done everything it can.
Audience and done everything it can on Xbox platforms. It may have, some of the games they said might have, cross-play with other platforms and other players.
Right. So
they can broaden the audience. So they had some, actual real criteria, which I kind of liked.
Right. But then they were a little bit, they said, in the future... the criteria could change, or everything's on the table. And they even said, we can't, forever rule out Starfield or Indiana Jones. Right. So it's like, all right, whatever. But I think the 4 games that are coming are quite obvious.
So they say it's Hi-Fi Rush, the game where you're like the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. What's it called? Grounded.
Yeah.
Pentiment
and Sea of Thieves. Right. Yeah. So Grounded and Sea of Thieves would be the 2 kind of more live servicey games.
Right.
And then Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush are the
more
little
indie-ish kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that. So that was the one that the I think the piece of news, this broad umbrella statement that people were just getting all frothy over last week. that, Xbox is going multi-platform. That's it. It's over for them. Like, all the exclusives are going to be, everywhere and no more Xbox exclusives. That was getting people really worked up. So I think it was good that they kind of addressed that big, like, elephant in the room right away.
Yeah.
And I think they sort of went out of their way to, like, assure people that they're still going to be Xbox exclusives. And it's like, again, these, like, for now, at least, there are these kind of clear criteria that is going to be these games that might be going to other platforms to put through.
So if you look at Starfield, then it hasn't been a year. There's also some big expansion that's not out.
Right.
So you could say, like, well, we have not exhausted the opportunity because we haven't released this expansion, which is going to create another big bump, and then who knows if it's another year after that, or what. He's like, well, it hasn't, changed our criteria for exclusivity. I'm like, I'm not sure I know what those criteria are necessarily in the first place, but
it sounds like criteria that they're going to change along the way, honestly, as what suits them.
They'll make it up along the way, which is totally fine. They have the right to do that.
Yeah.
They did, I think they talked people off the ledge with this specific point.
I think they did.
To the point where people are like, what's the big deal? So I think that was a win. That was a win for them because people are no longer, like, setting their Xboxes on fire in protest.
Yeah, and there was, like, so many, like, sort of comments afterwards, like, can we all calm down now?
Yeah.
It's a good lesson, I think, to just not, like, fly off the handle, like, at the sniff of a rumor, just absolutely just
wait
out.
For official confirmation before you set your Xbox on fire, please.
Lord, people.
But I think it was Matt Booty who made this point of, these days some games are bigger than the platform that they're on.
Yeah.
So, like, they had,
like
I think
Fortnite was his example.
I think Fortnite or Roblox or they have Minecraft. I think is another good example.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It does speak to these things. Have reached this new echelon that we didn't have before in games.
Right.
Where, exclusivity is not the move, and I think they aspire to hopefully have more games that are like that in the future. That's very hard to do. Who knows if they will.
Yeah.
But it's a good vision to have, and I like that point when they shared that.
Yeah, that is, like, a big change from, say, like 10 years ago.
Totally.
We were, having a different, people had a different mindset around these types of games, and these types of games frankly didn't exist back then.
Right. And I think they spent some time also talking about how, like, the audience, we need to expand the audience. Right now we're all just competing for the same group of people.
Exactly.
So especially as the cost of these things go up, it makes sense to make it available to a wider audience while we continue to investigate initiatives that will actually expand the audience even wider.
Yeah, I think that the audience expansion stuff is something that Nintendo was very early on doing, and now some of these more quote-unquote, like, core competitors are trying to play a little bit of catch-up.
And I thought it was interesting that they acknowledged, they're like, we had to lay some people off. Like, the current state of our business is not as good as it could be. So I thought that was interesting for them to even mention that.
They did. They kind of didn't kind of hold back on, acknowledging that, which I think that's appreciated. That's appreciated as well.
So then they talked a little bit about Game Pass and Activision. So they confirmed that Diablo 4 is going to be coming to Game Pass on March 28th, which just so happens to be my birthday.
Oh, boy.
Make a note, everybody.
We can all play Diablo 4 together.
I've already played it, unfortunately.
We can play with you.
I spent
have a birthday party.
A great $70 on this game to play it on the PlayStation 5 computer entertainment system.
Oh, no.
Now, so that's good, but why not more? Why not all the stuff you were... don't go down the Nintendo path, the NSO path of, like, drip feeding.
Drip feed?
Because, again, if you're trying to push the value of Game Pass...
You gotta go
You know what would make me sign up more than just Diablo 4? All the Activision stuff at once.
Exactly.
Just, like, dump it. Just dump it out there. Why not? And then... because, if you go to the public library... They're like, hey.
So you only, like, take out the one Charles Dickens
It's like,
book?
hey, we got great expectations now. It's our big drop for 2024. It's like, you've had that for years.
Yeah.
Just make it all available.
Oliver Twist will come in 3 months.
Yeah. Please look forward to our big announcement about the next Charles Dickens classic. No, just put it out. So I don't know. I don't know if that means they're doing something like that. Maybe they just wanted, a big name game to lead it off, and more of this will come.
Yes.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, we don't like that. It is like, it feels like you're being like sort of jerked around a little bit when it should be, if you're going to say like this is the big thing about Xbox that's going to be a value to you, the player. And
right, because I'm already subscribing. I'm already paying you money for these games that for the games you're not giving me that you're going to release. You've been sitting on for a year.
Like, why though?
I don't understand that strategy.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they might be like, just getting into their head a little bit, is like they might be trying to use these drops as like newsy things.
No,
but it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it either. But it's like, if it is like an easy thing to do when you don't have anything. So if they're like in a quarter that's lacking a big first party something,
they did say they had 10 games coming out this year. That's not nothing, especially when we get to talking about PlayStation in a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna assume and say that this is the strategy. I was like, I don't know if I love this.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I can see them like doing that thing where they're like, we got to hold on to the news for a rainy day, you know? But I don't love that. I think it should be just available. If one thing is available, that means you got the rest.
Right. So then they got to talking about hardware because, again, that was part of the speculation, was that they're going to be getting out of hardware.
Yeah, which people freaked out about.
They did spend this time talking about, we want every screen to be an Xbox, and that's good.
That's good.
But, they did talk about how the best experience will always be on our hardware, and that's that's what Nintendo's always said. It's like, nothing can beat the combination of us making games for the hardware that we also make, which is a very...
It's very true and factual. Yes.
And true point. So there were kind of 2 points to this. They said they will have something to announce hardware related this holiday. Mm-hmm. What could that be?
She said, read that quote, because I think that quote is ridiculous.
There's no quote here. What are you talking about?
Oh, she was like, this will be like the biggest technical leap.
So that's the other thing. So that's the next piece. So they're working on the next gen Xbox, which is not what they're announcing this holiday.
Right.
And that will be the largest technical leap you've ever seen in a hardware generation.
That's a ballsy quote.
Which, let's start with this holiday thing. So what could that be?
People are saying that it's a handheld. That's
I could
the
see
rumor.
that.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool.
There was also the redesigned Series X that had no disk drive.
Right. That's kind of boring, though.
That came out in the court cases, and some people were saying, that's no longer what they're doing anymore.
Right, that's what I heard.
It's a little boring,
it's really boring
if they do that, honestly.
Yeah, I hope they don't. That's really boring.
I wouldn't be as into that, but some sort of a handheld.
I'm so in.
That would be cool.
Although I do love...
Do you really need it, though?
I don't really need it. It's like the PlayStation.
The PlayStation Portal.
Yeah, although we do have a mutual friend that has the Portal that loves
We do?
it. Yeah, Camille.
Oh.
She
and she likes it?
Talking my ear off about
okay.
it. You got to get this. It's amazing. I'm like, is it better than the Backbone? She's like, she really likes it.
Fine.
So I don't know.
All right.
I mean, the remote play works so well. The cloud play works so well on for Xbox. Do you need a handheld? I kind of want it just to have it. I think it's neat.
Yeah. I mean, some people have been talking about how the Windows experience, and again, I have a Steam Deck, so I don't really know, but like the Windows experience on some of these mobile PCs is not great. So if they could put some work into, like, we have a better version of Windows that's running on our hardware, and
it's more user friendly.
And again, they have games that are available on Xbox and Windows. Like, if there can somehow be a better linkage between that could be cool. I don't know if that's something I would jump on, but okay. Yeah, why not?
Do a thing. Do
sure,
something.
do something.
Do something. That's the thing.
So yes, this next thing, the next gen Xbox, the largest technical leap. So I didn't really understand this because we've been going through weeks and months of news about how, the games are getting too big, these games are getting too expensive, we had to lay all these people off because we can't make enough money. And then you just say, like, well, it's going to get even more expensive to make games because we're having the largest technical leap ever. I assume this means graphics.
It could mean something else.
It could mean something, but I think most people hear that and they say, the graphics are going to be great.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Technical is such a broad term, though.
Sure. But I think most people would see that and say, the graphics are going to be, like, so much better.
Burn your eyes out good.
And it's like, I don't know, I feel like we've kind of hit some point of diminishing returns with the graphics.
I feel like that's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people realize, especially, in the last couple of years, I think within the last 3 years or so, that we have hit a diminishing return on just graphics. So I'm hopeful that what she means is more than graphics.
I hope so too. And I just thought that was a weird line to put out there at this time specifically.
Exactly. I was like, this is a strange, I mean, it's a very bold proclamation. It's also vague enough where you kind of don't know exactly what she means by greatest technical, advancement. It could mean a number of things. Like a technical advancement is such a broad, such a broad.
I mean, they literally could have just confirmed, we're going to have a next-gen Xbox and left it at that.
Right.
And stopped those rumors off right there. So I'm getting a little hung up on the phrasing, but again, this was our life when we worked at Nintendo.
Yeah.
And how people would interpret or misinterpret statements
exactly.
that. So
someone wrote that and approved it, and she said it. So maybe she just flew off the handle and said it on her own. Who knows? I'm just kidding. I don't think she would do that. But yeah, it is a very interesting thing to say. That was like almost like too much information, but not enough information. But,
right.
But too much information
right.
right now.
So the last thing they talked about, and this was another bit of rumor debunking, was about having this legacy library of Xbox games and how Xbox is going to respect that and do everything that they can to make that live on in future hardware generations and keep those services going for as long as they can. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
I was not one of the people who was worried about them pulling the plug on this.
Yeah.
I mean, people do have...
I mean, they were kind of the first to do this.
True.
So.
And they did have a good proof point about what they've done with Windows over the years and how things have worked on Windows through various iterations of that.
It sort of like bleeds beyond the gaming part of Microsoft.
Yeah.
It is in like the broader Microsoft DNA, which bodes well because that means that they're going to continue to support that.
Right.
I think.
And again, so not every game is perpetually backwards compatible on the Xbox. There are some that have fallen off, but at least they are putting effort into trying to do their best with it, generation to generation.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's nice.
Yeah. Can they stop calling it back compat, though? That's weird. I was like, you don't need to shorten this. It's not that long of a word.
Making some catchy catchphrases here.
Catchphrases?
Yeah.
We're cool.
Right.
We're relaxed. Back compat.
So that was pretty much everything in that. Again, it was pretty... to the point. The tone of it was not funeral serious, as some of the imagery was leading you to think. What was your kind of, grade this presentation? What would you grade this?
Maybe like a B?
Yeah.
I thought they did a fine job of just kind of telling you what it is they need to tell you. There was not a lot of like, let's beat around the bush kind of stuff. Like, we're not trying to like... just spin doctor a bunch of stuff. It was just, it is what it is. They had news, they had stuff to tell you, and they told you.
Right.
Right. The stuff that they told you might not be like mind-blowing stuff that was gonna like shake your core.
Right.
But it did its job of getting people to just literally calm down and like stop freaking out.
Right.
And it answered from the horse's mouth some of those questions that were, under speculation.
Right.
So I think for all those reasons, it did its job.
I agree, and I disagree somewhat with the people who said like, you could have just put out a press release. I think this needed.
No, you needed to.
I mean, it's a shame that they ended up in this situation in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think they did the best they could to diffuse the situation.
Right, and I think they did the right move, just getting people out there to have a conversation about it.
So that was their bad week.
Yeah.
On to PlayStation's bad week. So they had a financial update, and they dropped some bombs in this, which I don't think everybody was expecting. So let's go piece by piece. They said that the PS5 is now entering the latter half of its console cycle. What?
3 years in.
Which, I guess it's technically true if you look at how long these consoles go, and
typically
things that launched in the pandemic, like the time gets fuzzy.
Yeah, it was like 1 year was actually like 7 years.
Right, like we're coming up on like 4 years from when the pandemic started.
It was like a dog year.
It was strange, but again, the phrasing could have been better here.
It just sounds like you're like putting a nail in the coffin right now.
Right.
It's just a little dire. Very expensive piece of hardware that we only have enjoyed. And they've only gotten out of their like stock issues it feels recently.
It's just a generation that feels like we're still waiting for it to fully kick in to high gear.
Yeah.
So for them to say that is a bit dissonant with how people are feeling about it. I mean, I think it's a piece of hardware that we have and we enjoy and like a lot, and play a lot, but I think we're just waiting for, all right, this is the year that it really explodes.
Gets it together.
And it's not...
and they're going to have tons of exclusives, and it's going to be amazing.
Right.
We've been waiting for that year for 2 years.
So that piggybacks into the next point, which is, I'll just read it from their thing. We do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal, such as God of War Ragnarok and Marvel's Spider-Man. Uh-oh. So we basically have...
for a year.
A year. Because it's February, we have over a year.
We have over a year.
Through the end of next March. No major franchise titles.
What's it gonna be then?
That's rough. That's bad.
Rough.
So
that is rough.
So there's a couple things here. We know that the cycles for making these games now are crazy long.
Right.
And these games are super hard to make. It may suggest that something hit a snag and got delayed, something, some big game, like let's say they had Ghost of Tsushima 2 set for this year, could have had some snag and they need more time and they don't have anything else to fill it out. So that doesn't rule out other games. Yeah. I don't know what exactly their line is.
Multi-platform games.
Right, so like Final Fantasy is coming to save the day in a couple weeks.
Exactly.
And there will continue...
Cloud will save us.
Yeah, there will continue to be every big multi-platform game will be on the PS5.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, you still have games like from other studios, like a Dragon is obviously on all the platforms and on PS5.
Yeah, but you always think like it's the responsibility of the platform owner to lead the way and to have, to bring its best and brightest out on a regular basis. So to just say like, well,
what are you doing?
We're sitting this year out, sorry. Like that's a rough.
You're not allowed to do that.
And think about the holidays. This is like, what is the big holiday game going to be?
PlayStation, yeah.
Call of Duty again? I mean...
No, we can't do that here. We cannot.
I mean, it's a little bit sad to be like, oh, this is maybe going to be...
no platform exclusives, no first-party exclusives for the whole year.
Again, we do not know what the line is of major franchise titles. So, like, for example, they just published Helldivers 2, which we'll talk... We've been playing that. We'll talk about that. And has become, like
a hit.
Kind of a shocking hit. That wouldn't count as this. Like, they could still, publish smaller games.
They're like flagship AAA games, though.
Right, the thing where they have the little intro with the icons, like the Marvel Studios, the PlayStation Studios.
Like why you have a PS5?
Right, it's true.
That's why I have a PS5.
Yeah, this is why this is one of the big reasons why you buy a PS5 over an Xbox.
It's
is
very
like the exclusive. They have
to have a PS5, but you buy it to play these like cinematic,
the prestige exclusives.
Exclusives. Yeah. It's like, that's why you have it. So I'm definitely pretty disappointed that I have this expensive thing to do that, and they're saying that for a year I'm not able to because they don't have a game.
Right?
Like, are you kidding me?
So as a result of these two bombshells, pretty much all their guidance for the year is like everything pointing down a little bit, except for third-party games. They expect those to go up a little bit, but. Hardware unit sales expected to go down. They didn't even hit their target for this year.
They didn't.
Also,
they brought their forecast down.
Right.
As well.
Right. First party software, slight decrease. You know what's going to come and save the day? The PS5 Pro. Oh, the hardware that literally nobody asked for.
No.
Yes.
If you are doing that, Sony, listen to me, Sony, bruh. So if you are going to be telling people to buy another piece of hardware that no one asked for in lieu of having a strong first-party game, we out.
Well, you know how these things goes. Like, you get in the meeting, it's like, all right, we don't have these games. What can we do?
What can we do?
What can we do? And that's something.
That's
something you can do.
That.
Something absolutely. It will at least have a serious conversation in some boardroom.
Don't do it.
Now the time.
I'm telling you, don't do it. It's not the solution.
A lot of people would still buy it, and maybe there's some. I mean, can you fast track some remake of something? Well, now you can play this in 8K, even though nobody has an 8K TV.
No, I don't
like,
want
to. We remastered the first 3 God of War games in 8K.
Oh,
and that's going to launch alongside the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like, this is the kind of stopgap thinking.
That's the stopgap
that happens, right?
Or else they're coming.
And people talk, and people literally talk about it. Like, these are stopgaps.
Yeah.
We are buying ourselves time for the actual thing.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
Right.
In
That's
these
real.
behind
That is
closed door
real.
things. And people start to panic, truly. Like, don't underestimate the amount of panic that can happen. And then when you get into that situation where you're in an echo chamber of panic with a lot of
get out
with a lot of executives
in
that kind of situation, that's when these
just get out.
Very shaky decisions get made. Yes, you get out. Number one, leave. Yes. Number two, but that's what explains some of these.
You excuse yourself to go to the bathroom and you never come back. You just get in your car and go home.
And just go home forever. But that's what happens. This chart cracks me up.
Again,
burden of acquisition related costs easing.
So look, again, like I understand, like they felt the need to say these things. They could have said these a bit more gently. Like they were super blunt about this.
Yeah, it's like it was like
we're ripping the Band-Aid. It's like, oh my god,
it really was like it felt
Jim Ryan's calling it quits in a couple weeks. Like things are looking bad. We need Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan, can we make you a Godfather offer to stay on for another year and see us through this? Come on, Jim.
Jim Ryan got in his car and never came back.
Jim knew what was going on.
Jim was like, bye.
I'm out of this.
I'm out.
Forget this. I'm
out. Peace out.
I'm not dealing with this.
I know. Then he got in his car.
Yes.
He excused himself to go to the bathroom, and he's never coming back.
Man.
So everything is down. The decreasing of all of their profits.
The arrow's pointing down. It's not what you want.
Stonks are not happening.
Stonks are pointing down.
The stonks are not happening.
Okay. So that was their bad week.
So that was their bad week. So that's pretty bad.
We'll talk about who had the worst week.
Yeah,
we got to get through them all. We got to get through them all.
Nintendo.
So Nintendo's bad week, and so we need to clarify.
We have to clarify.
These are all rumors.
Exactly.
But
that is why I feel like Nintendo. You got to take it with a little extra grain of salt.
It did pick up momentum though.
It did.
As the week came to an end, and a lot of people were saying that they had heard this from people who are making games for Switch 2.
True.
What they heard was the Switch 2 got pushed back from late this year into early next year.
Correct.
And it seems that a lot of this was
March at the earliest.
due to software development not being ready to line up with the launch. So we don't know. The Switch 2 launch date was never announced.
That's right. So you can't say it's delayed when
it could be
actual
internal delay. They could have a target. We were targeting end of the year.
Sure.
And then they have to push it back.
Sure.
So again, very clear rumor. We don't know. But let's talk about if this was real.
Yeah. So
what would this mean?
Right. So let's talk about this from a perspective of like what is happening. What could be happening inside Nintendo for them to make this decision, if it's true? So they have learned the hard way. We were there. We learned the hard way that if you do not have this like stellar lineup of software when you launch a new piece of hardware, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes.
Right? We've learned this through the 3DS launch. We've learned this through the Wii U launch, obviously. It just really handicaps you in a really bad way. And they are extremely sensitive to that. So I think they will move like mountain and ocean to make sure that software lineup is like crazy good.
Yeah,
I think that's why this feels like it has like a kernel of truth to it, and it feels like reasonable for them because that is their MO.
Yeah, if your star launch game, whatever it is not ready, you kind of have to do this.
Right.
Because, otherwise you're having like a 3DS launch situation where you're putting old Steel Diver out there to die.
Say, is there going to be Switch 2 launch title, Steel Diver 3?
Nintendogs, cats, and gerbils is what we've got.
Nintendogs, snakes, and spiders.
No. Creepy Crawlies edition.
I don't want that.
So, yes, you need to do that, but it does take what could have been a very thin 2024,
and it just
it's like now we're stretching that.
Thin.
It's like this is your struggle college meal of like I'm eating like
this is the cup noodle.
I'm eating this cup noodle.
The cup noodle, guys.
I'm eating this one cup noodle for a week straight. Like one every day I get one noodle out of the cup noodle. And one day you get the little sad dehydrated carrot. Also, you can't even add water. You just need to suck on it in your mouth until it reconstitutes. Okay? So like that's the situation that they're in. And you could say like, oh, well, whatever, like Switch is great.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
who cares? But like you want to have momentum. Yeah. You don't want to lose all the great momentum have. And you could lose it fast.
That's the danger. Because we were talking about this before. If you don't like sort of get people to leap to the next thing at the optimal time,
right,
they need to just fall off a cliff.
Right.
And we saw that happen so clearly with from Wii to Wii U.
Yeah.
So that drop off for Wii was so scary.
Yes.
Because that was also just a amazing, like, blockbuster Nintendo hardware. Remember the Wii days, guys? Like that was we eat good in the Wii days. And you sort of have this feeling like, oh, we're never gonna not be on top. Mm-hmm. And how quickly you fell to rock bottom.
It can be fast, yeah.
Because that drop off can be extremely jarring.
Right.
And they're in that danger zone right now because you're right. Like it is becoming like very thinned out. Like sure, they might have some stuff in the hopper. Like people are saying, like this is where you bring out the rainy day stuff, remakes.
Well, that's where they're in a better position than I would say Sony is.
Exactly.
Is like they have something, or maybe multiple things that they've just been sitting on for something like this. Yeah. Where it's like, well, maybe we can put this out here. Maybe we'll port it to Switch 2 if it's not the time.
Right. They got options.
They are more prepared for this than anybody else.
Right.
But even still,
it's not a great option.
It's not like what is the holiday game for the Switch going to be? If they is it going to be Paper Mario? That's not exciting.
Feel good.
So it's like we're in a situation where like, does anybody have a game for the holiday? Does anybody in the industry have something?
Sitting it out?
We're just going to take it easy.
Take a little nappy.
Santa Claus is going to take the year off.
Take a little nap. take a little fever nap. A little NyQuil nap.
Now again, we had the nuttiest year last year in terms of releases. I'm actually not complaining about this. I think this is good.
But it just
as I get into hour 50 of Like a Dragon.
As you're like marathon.
Furiously trying to finish this game for our spoiler cast.
Yeah, you marathon this game and forgo
I'm like, maybe this is a good thing. But beyond me, it's bad news.
Yeah, but it's another sort of like that feeling of just like with Sony, like you don't have this big first party prestige title, Nintendo. Mm-hmm. You don't have like a big Nintendo franchise new game coming this year. That does not feel good. It does not feel like you are like winning that. You're basically like barely keeping your head above water kind of situation, which is not where you want to be.
And you're going to reach a point like, so I was listening to Jeff Grubb's podcast on the way. He made a very good point that GDC is in a month.
Yeah. And
the leaks could really pick up from there because that's when I'm at the bar.
The W hotel.
I'm at the W bar, and I've had too many smart cocktails, and now I'm got some loose lips about this thing I'm working on or some features, and I agree with that. And,
there's so much media.
And once people get a bit of tangible news on this, they're gonna be like, Switch, who cares about that? I'm waiting for the next thing. I'm ready. Yeah. So it could be a tough year for them. It's going to be a real challenge to extend what they have for, again, a year at least.
And people are saying like, oh, we can live with remakes. We can live through it with the remakes, like the Metroid 2s and 3s and Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remake, the Wind Wakers and the Twilight Princesses. Right. But I don't think you guys can.
Those won't keep it going for that long.
Exactly.
It's not like if that was an original game.
Exactly.
It'll keep you going for like a week or two.
That's what I'm saying. Like you feel like it's a lot because you want these games.
Right.
And you feel like you want to go to your backlog or whatever, but you don't. Like you are going to get really bored when they're not announcing anything for 8 to 9 months.
Yeah.
You're going to start to feel it and it's going to be bad. It's going to be rough.
So who was the winner and the loser? I think we both agree Nintendo was the winner, despite all this.
Well, first of all, it's a rumor, so we don't even know if it's true.
It's a rumor about a thing.
What if it's like a red herring? What if they're just like trying to throw us off the set?
It was a rumor about a thing that was never actually announced.
Yeah.
But even still, I still think they're in a better position than everybody else because, again, they are going to have something in their back pocket.
They do.
Versus nothing, which seems to be Sony. Like, we got nothing. Cool. Yeah. And again, like now they're going to be in this position where they're getting these Microsoft games, so that'll help.
That'll help a little bit.
That'll be something.
Look Look at Phil Spencer just saving the day
It's
for
like, hey,
everyone.
we're getting some games, and it's like, yes, like PlayStation will probably get those games too, but I think those games are better suited
For, like,
to
a Switch
the Switch audience. Honestly, like
Yeah.
Rare is going to be back on the Switch. That's cool.
cool.
Or
Yeah, people want that.
Hi-Fi Rush feels much more like a game. The Switch
game.
audience,
And people say that kind of stuff. Like, I wish this game was on Switch.
right?
You know, so.
Right. And again, like they have the flexibility of now being able to react, if this is true,
Yeah.
in a way that is not so public facing.
Right.
Because again, there was never an announcement.
Yeah.
They can
it wasn't
adjust.
like they announced and had to announce it.
Right.
delay.
They can
That
adjust
would be
their
bad.
plans now as much as they want, and nobody's going to be like, oh, they're really screwing it up now because we haven't heard about this thing in 6 months. It's like, you never heard about it at all.
Yeah, I've heard about it at all.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So they have sort of, they still have the ball in their court, as they say. I think they're not, sort of caught off guard yet by all of this. They can strategize.
Right. And they've been in this position before too. I mean,
Yeah.
we've lived through this
before.
position. Like they're pretty good at scrounging and making. Like if you're Luigi, do another one of those. Like that's exactly what the Year of Luigi
The
was.
scrounging.
Right. They can be more. They're going to be more
they're more
creative.
scrappy
They're going to be
when
more
they're-
creative about it than PlayStation will be.
They're scrappier.
Yeah.
Especially when they're back into a corner
Yeah.
like this. You can get zany in Nintendo.
And they
which is kinda fun.
and they have all these other things like the museum. They can talk about this thing. They can really like
Yeah.
heavy up on this other stuff that they
Yeah.
have going
They've
on.
got Universal stuff
Right, so
still.
those
They got
aren't-
entertainment-y kind of things.
Right. Those aren't
Still-
games, but you don't think like, oh man, Nintendo fell off. You're not going to think
We're not going
that.
to forget them.
Well, like, oh, Sony fell off because they're,
Yeah, they got partnerships with Lego still.
there's a lot they can. There's a lot that they can talk about.
This is why their three business pillars is actually paying off for them, because games, games and hardware is only one of the three
Right.
pillars, and they have the two others that they can sort of fall back on.
Right.
It's not ideal. I think it's going to be a struggle, truly, and you do sort of lose the optimal timing advantage, but it's not like an insurmountable challenge, I don't think.
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean that the Switch 2 launch is now going to be a failure because
Absolutely.
of this new timing. So yeah, I agree that Nintendo is, out of the 3 bad weeks, probably the least bad. Stocks fell like 6%.
It really
though.
did
It
fall,
like
yeah.
tanked.
Yeah.
And so did everyone else's, so it's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Except for Microsoft. Microsoft's fine. But yeah, Sony's stock
So
is
who had the worst week then?
probably Sony.
Sony or Microsoft?
Sony.
I agree.
Sony really.
I think by a
Poor
large.
Sony.
I think by a large
Probably
margin.
a large margin.
Large margin.
Yeah.
Sony.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 games.
That's
That's good. I mean, they're not all going to be mega hits, but you'll have something to talk
You have
about.
something to play.
You got
Yeah.
people off the ledge.
Yeah, yes, you did. And you did it in a way that was like not annoying.
Yeah, you'll have some sort of a hardware announcement coming up that people can look forward to that. Again, no matter what that is.
Man, Nintendo just clear the
So-
deck for Microsoft's holiday, though.
Well, again, like they've not had a good track record at all of having anything ready at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have their Call of Duty. That's never late. They'll always have a Call
Yeah,
of
we
Duty.
can
but-
always rely on that,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, like set your watches to
set
Call
your
of Duty.
watches. Yeah, set your calendars.
So
yeah,
we
that's
asked our Patreon community that same question of who had the worst week. Of the three, 8% said Nintendo, 44% said PlayStation, and 48% said Xbox.
Oh my gosh.
Which-
well, that's very close.
It's very close.
Why Xbox?
Well, let's look at some responses. Daniel Phillips said, while the Nintendo and Xbox news might be frustrating to fans in the here and now, I think they are at least hint to a brighter future for both companies. The Switch 2 will be out when it's good and ready, and although I've never been an Xbox guy, it seems to me they've got a plan to adapt and hopefully survive, even as their hardware struggles. On the other hand, I've had a PS5 since 2021 and own a whopping one game that wasn't available on PS4.
Oh.
I feel the PlayStation's library is severely lacking this generation, and this news doesn't give me the impression that it'll get better anytime soon.
Oh.
Very
yeah,
true.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole PS4 straddling is another reason it feels like we've been waiting for this to get going.
Yes, that's not a clear break, and I don't think they've really convinced you, like, why the graphics kind of look the same. Honestly, like, I really can't tell, but it's just, maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do feel like, well, what's the point of this? You know?
Kyle LeBoeuf says, I'm surprised to see so few voting for Nintendo in this poll. Nintendo allegedly pushing out the Switch's successor to 2025 puts this year in jeopardy from a business standpoint.
True.
I don't think Nintendo is going to have any heavy hitters ready to go this holiday season, as its in-house teams and studios switch gears, no pun intended, to what comes next.
True.
All correct.
Yeah. Again, that's why we got remake the 2024 year of remakes coming our way.
Jason Ball 34 says the Nintendo situation boils down to device that was never officially said to exist that was supposed to exist relatively soon, according to some guy, will now not exist for longer than expected, according to some other guy.
True. Very true. Well said.
I don't see how anyone can be upset at that. Nintendo has its cards on the table. They're focusing on Switch for the foreseeable future, as they always have. There was never even an NX-style announcement that made me think a new system was even close to happening this year.
That's true.
Okay?
We don't know if this
Don't get worked up over nothing.
Don't get worked up.
That's a good strategy.
That's the good strategy.
And then finally, Mr. Andy Pong says, what a strange week of gaming news and rumors. And ultimately, after all that, we're in no better position than we were before. Nintendo is still releasing a console sometime in the near future. Xbox isn't going anywhere and is only bringing a couple games to other platforms. And PS5 is going to be around for the next 3 to 4 years, as you would expect. It seems like a lot of drama over the past week that didn't really get us anywhere. Honestly, it gets a bit tiring. I'd hate to be the ones working at these companies trying to manage expectations. You two might have some insight into that.
Yes. Yeah. The rumors can get to you.
Yeah.
Especially if, well, it works both ways. If it's a true rumor, then you feel anxiety because you're like, oh no, people know.
People know.
People know.
Yeah.
We gotta do something. We gotta set them straight. And if it's a false rumor, then you're like, why do people think this? This is so stupid. And you just feel worked up by that. So if you're working within these companies dealing with all of this online speculation and people just having meltdowns all day long, it is quite exhausting. So yes, I do feel it for them.
Yeah.
Hopefully Xbox, I think they've quelled their little round of stuff so they can take a little breather. Sony needs to just like take the L for now and just lay low, and then Nintendo, they're gonna live through it. They gotta live through the rumors. Yeah. Phew.
Let's move on to greener pastures.
I know we need a palate cleanser.
We're gonna do something
after that.
Light and breezy here.
Let's do that.
We're doing our Princess Peach Showtime character bracket. This time with the transformations in the game. So if you don't remember how these work, we are going to be picking out of this Cappy hat 8 of the transformations. Now again, we know about 10, so 2 are not even going to make it on.
Yeah, sorry.
Never had a chance.
Never had a chance.
And then we're going to be rating them on 3 different criteria, 1 different criteria in each round.
Yes.
So the criteria are how fun it is to play based on what we've seen.
Right,
We haven't played it, but what we've seen. How cool does the transformation look, the Peach transformation? And then finally, how creative and original is it? So the first round will be, does it look fun to play? And we're rating those on a 1 to 5 scale. Let's do our seating right now.
Yeah, you can pick.
I will pick, you can write.
Okay.
First we have Cowgirl Peach. Okay. Next, we have Figure Skater Peach.
Ooh.
So these are the pairings.
Yes.
Next up, we have Mighty Peach, followed by Ninja Peach.
Ooh.
And then Mermaid Peach. Oh, you were very worried that Mermaid Peach would not.
I'm so glad Mermaid Peach made it.
Sneak through. Sword Fighter Peach. Oh, that's a tough matchup. Mermaid versus Sword Fighter. And our last 2 are Patissiere and Dashing Thief. Oh, that's an interesting pairing. Okay. So the 2 that did not make it, sad to say, are Detective Peach. Oh, that's too bad. That one looked interesting. And Kung Fu. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Those are 2 of the bigger ones. All right.
Oh, well, them's the breaks.
That's right.
As they say. Okay, so in the matchup of how fun does it look like it is to play, first pairing is Cowgirl Peach versus Figure Skater Peach.
Yes.
So Cowgirl, the gameplay probably involves some sort of lassoing.
We've seen the lassoing.
Yes.
We've seen Peach on a horse.
Yes.
That looks cool.
That looks cool.
Whereas with Figure Skater Peach, I'll be honest, I don't exactly understand this.
It looks like it's more like about movement.
Could be like a rhythm thing, like input the triple sow cow. I don't know, the triple toe loop.
Toe loop.
Do the button combo.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like she's like kind of, skating around versus some sort of gameplay.
I'm going to give Cowgirl a 4, and I'm going to give Figure Skater a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You're going to do the same?
I think
All right.
so. 4.
Overwhelming victory for Cowgirl here.
So Cowgirl is definitely moving
Yes.
on.
Next, the
Mighty
matchup is
and Ninja.
Mighty and Ninja.
So Mighty is one of the newer ones that was revealed. It's like a Power Ranger.
This is kind of like a superhero Peach.
Yeah, almost like a Mega Man Peach. Is
It,
that right?
It
kind
looks,
of has a Mega Man look to it.
The look of the character is a little bit Mega Man-ish. But so basically, I think she has
Is there like an arm cannon kind of situation?
I think she had like super strength. She was like picking stuff up, like picking up a car, throwing a car around. I think I saw that versus Ninja Peach, which seemed to be a bit more stealthy.
Yeah.
Which maybe is an issue for me.
I don't mind.
So I bet the stealth in this is not.
I bet the stealth could be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little. It's a little hard for me to wrap my head around what the gameplay for Mighty would look like. So I'm gonna give it a 3.
Oh, I'm gonna give that a 4.
Okay.
Because I think that looks fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess so. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it for some reason. Ninja Peach looks really fun. I think it might be fun to do a little stealth in this game just to change it up a little bit. So I'm gonna give that a 4.
Oh, a 4. I was gonna give that a 2.
Oh, okay.
So
then
Mighty moves on. Yeah.
You just don't like stealth.
Well, I think Ninja again, like you have a sword. There's another one where you have a sword. Like I feel like this is the one that
Isn't Ninja with like a little? Do they have
Ninja
little
Stars.
Ninja stars?
It also is reminding me.
Kunai, little kunai.
It's also reminding me of Nintendo Land.
You don't like it?
I'm getting some bad feelings.
If it was just cash, it would have been so much better.
All right, get it right.
If it was just dollar bills, it would have been great. Oh boy, here it comes.
Okay.
Mermaid Peach.
Mermaid Peach versus Sword Fighter Peach. Ooh. Oh boy. So what is Mermaid? You're just swimming around.
Why are you like this?
But what else?
I think you're swimming. Maybe there's some sort of like tail action with a little tail.
Tail whip. Okay.
Tail whip.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some sort of like, I'm just imagining the Little Mermaid gameplay somehow that we recently played.
Yes. And then Sword Fighter looked like this is like the most straightforward kind of actiony.
Like, sort of like a straight up like fencing.
Swinging that sword around.
Swing the sword. Not very imaginative. I feel like Mermaid Peach is good because swimming levels typically are annoying. But if you have like a power, like a swimmy power, like a mermaid or like something, you feel a little bit better in the water. Like, for example, when you're Frog Mario and you're in the water, like, it's more fun. You know what I mean?
You're in the bag for Mermaid Peach.
I want Mermaid 5!
5, wow.
I really like Mermaid Peach.
And then what are you giving to Sword Fighter?
3.
3. 5 and 3. Oh, you give it a 5 for real?
I'm going to give it a 5. Okay, I'll give it a 4.
Well, I mean, you can give it whatever you want.
No, I'll give it a 4. I don't want to actually like be dishonest by trying to like game this.
I was gonna give Mermaid a 3 and Sword Fighter a 4. So what is that a tie then?
It's a tie.
Oh, well, we'll let you're very passionate about mermaids, so we'll let that. We'll let that move on because I'm.
You're indifferent to mermaids.
I'm not particularly passionate about it.
About mermaids. Okay, next, Patissiere,
yes,
Peach, and Dashing Thief. Now, see, I think Dashing Thief is more stealthy, no?
That's
what is Dashing
This
Thief?
one, it's a little bit hard to tell what exactly that is.
Yeah.
But we do know that the Patissiere one said, like, make the things within the time limit.
No.
So I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm giving that a 1.
Me too.
Oh,
I don't like
well, who cares? Dashing Thief is moving on.
Okay. Yeah, it looks so cute. Too bad. If it was in the cool category, like how cool it looks, it would have been higher because the cookies look good.
Right. So that is the next.
Okay, so round 2.
That is the next one.
Is how cool
How cool
looks.
does it look?
So we got Cowgirl versus Mighty Peach. And then we got Mermaid versus Dashing Thief.
Yes.
Oops. In the how cool does it look around. Okay, so I think the cowgirl peach is very cute. Again, I'm getting a lot of like Barbie inspiration because the whole like cowgirl theme was so big last year with Barbie. And then Mighty.
Isn't Beyonce doing some Western motif
the Western
now?
motif is very in right now. It's very trendy right now.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what they were going for because I don't think they care about Beyonce, but maybe they do. But it is like quite like the the fashion trend right now. Mighty Peach though looks really cool.
Yeah.
I do really like sort of that like Robo Peach look.
Right.
It's cool to see her in not like a typical kind of costume.
It's a bit more visually unexpected.
I think so.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would give the edge to Mighty too. I would give Cowgirl a 3.
Okay.
And Mighty a 4.
Yeah, Cowgirl I think is a 3. It's not like, I mean, it's cool, but maybe it's just because we like
It's fine.
Cowgirls
There's
right
no, like maybe there could have been more Princess Peach touches to the stuff.
Yeah, why not have her little like cowboy hat have a little crown on it or something?
It's just pretty standard cowboy outfit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that moves on to the final.
Okay, Mighty is onto the final.
Mighty Princess Peach is onto the final. And
That's
then we
exciting.
have Mermaid and Dashing Thief.
Yeah. What does Dashing Thief look like? Give me a visual.
It's like a cat burglar.
A cat burglar.
Well, why don't you monologue about the mermaid?
Yeah,
while
Mermaid
I
Peach looks
pull this
very
up.
cool.
She's got the little. She looks like the Hamburglar, honestly.
No, this is the persona look.
Oh,
Joker. People are comparing this to
well,
Joker.
she looked like the Hamburglar to me.
Oh yeah, this is so cute.
got a cape. What was that other game? Rhythm Thief? Was that? I think there was a game where it looks very similar to that.
I like her little boots.
Oh, she's got like a what's he call that?
A paraglider.
A paraglider in this.
Her cape becomes a paraglider.
She's got some sort of a hook apparatus.
Yeah, like a little grappling hook.
Right.
But yeah, cute boots. I think I have boots that look like that.
Oh. Cute boots. That's
I like
always
this.
a bonus.
This is way better than I thought. Oh man, this is hard. This is really hard.
Is it?
I kind of like this look.
All right, well, let's talk about.
Here we go.
So is Mermaid Peach just ripping off the Little Mermaid?
No, because
We need
the
to talk
tail
about
is a
that.
different color.
What do you mean?
The Little Mermaid tail is green.
And this is
Her
like
tail is
luminescence,
like rainbow. Yeah.
Okay.
This is such a cute design. Seeing her as a mermaid is the best. Seeing anybody as a mermaid or a unicorn is like
A unicorn.
basically you're like
wait. Explain that. Explain the unicorn half of that.
I don't know, like
a person?
Maybe they can become a unicorn.
Do they still have a human face?
They can have like it's like that centaur where he's like half person but in like a horn.
What? This is
like what every little girl loves. You know, like unicorns and mermaids.
I'm reeling from this right now.
Really?
You don't see that. Nobody unicorned somebody. What would unicorn Krysta look like?
So it's like this top half of my body would be
It's
like
still
my
okay. So
knee.
it's and you would have the horn.
I would have a little horn, like a little rainbow. Someone make
This is nightmare fuel.
Somebody make like a
I don't want to see that.
Photoshop of that, and then like the back would be like a horse, clop around.
I don't.
Anyways, we're getting digressing here.
Okay, so it sounds like you're maybe a bit more excited about the Dashing Thief.
I realized that the thief looked cooler than I thought. I'm like,
okay.
Oh wow.
I mean, to me, it's the Hamburglar.
So you don't like it.
I'm less into that.
You're not less into it.
Even
okay,
though
so
I think it's pretty blatant, like Little Mermaid.
You like the
knockoff? I think that's a
the
little
mermaid
bit better.
is seeing her as a mermaid is cool. It's just fun.
Right.
It's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit more unexpected
Yeah.
versus.
So let's say 4 for mermaid. Would you give mermaid a 4?
Well, what do you? Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna give
I go
mermaid
4 and 3 again. It's
okay,
close.
I'm gonna give mermaid a 4. I'm gonna give thief a 4 too, but you give it a 3. So
what? So mermaid
on.
moves on to the final. Okay.
Yeah, so it's mighty versus mermaid.
So our last criteria is how creative and original is it?
Oh, that's kind of tough too. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's think about this again. I mean,
Yes.
a mermaid just is swimming around.
It's not creative.
Right.
It's not really creative. A Little Mermaid movie came out in the last 12 years.
We're looking at the mermaid. See what powers it has.
What did we don't have time to read the Wikipedia page on it. Just tell me.
Fine. So we don't think it's I don't think it's that creative either because
Yeah.
a mermaid is a mermaid. And it just looks like the Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I mean I think this like kind of futuristic hero where she gets super strength and whatever, and all these other powers. I think that's pretty.
That's pretty creative.
That's pretty interesting.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Power Ranger or Kamen Rider Peach or something like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
She's got like
that's something we haven't seen before, and it's something
pizzazz.
that's unexpected. I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. And it's not a pink outfit; it's a red outfit.
It's not the Pink Ranger.
They could have made it pink, but they didn't want to get sued. I think it's clear enough.
I'm glad that they didn't make everything pink.
Right.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Way to go, Nintendo.
So what are your numbers here?
Let's give Mermaid Peach a 3
Okay.
for me, and then Mighty will get a 4.
I'll give it a 4 too. Yeah. And I would give Mermaid a 2, just for the record.
All right, so our big
winner is Mighty
bracket
Peach.
winner is Mighty
Wow.
Peach. Do you think that the tables would have been turned at all if those other two even made it in?
A figure skater would not have made it far.
Well, Figure Skater wasn't.
Oh, we had figure. We had.
We missed Detective and
Detective.
Ninja.
No, it was Detective
No.
and hold on, I get it.
Yeah, Detective and Ninja.
Kung Fu.
Oh, that's
Kung
right,
Fu.
Kung Fu.
I'm kind of excited for Detective. For what reason I kind of like Detective Peach. I can't explain why.
You didn't even like Detective Games.
It does look a little similar to the Dashing Thief.
No, it doesn't
though.
look anything
I
like
think
the
it looks
Dashing
fairly similar.
The Dashing Thief does look cool. Like I'm like into this like look for her.
All right.
It's very cool.
Well, maybe you'll be eating at McDonald's tonight.
Doesn't look anything like the Hamburglar.
Remember they did the hot Hamburglar, the modern Hamburglar?
Oh,
It was a dude with a burger, and this guy it looked like this. And they ditched that idea real fast. It was the hot Hamburglar.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
All right.
Well, how fun!
Well, that was fun.
Yes.
And that was a nice little palate cleanse
how
from all
many-
the
how
bad
many-
news.
Do you think there's any more transformations they've
I'm
announced?
sure there is. There's some final level.
They've announced so
Bowser,
many.
Bowser Peach.
That was it.
It's not the same.
How hilarious would it be
It's
if
not- if they did
they
it.
just acknowledged it? They're like, fine.
No, they're like, no, it's not that. It's absolutely not that. It's Bowser Peach. It's not Bowsette at all. How dare you? You disgusting creeps. How dare you suggest that? We would never.
Vagrants.
Wonderful.
Oh, fun.
What do we have coming up next? We have, our great story time
Yes.
with Mr. Iwata. We're going to get to that in just a second, but first we got to shout out another sponsor. This episode is sponsored by MeUndies.
MeUndies,
Which again,
thank you.
guess what?
Are you wearing it right now?
I'm wearing them right now. You bet. Let's talk a little bit about the underwear drawer.
Yes.
It's
just a mess.
a place where some strange things can happen.
Yeah.
You might have a pair that's been in there for years.
You just haven't gotten rid of yet.
You might have a pair that is like halfway disintegrated, but it's like, I like that one, so I definitely have fallen trapped to that one. It's like, this is a good one. Why would I get rid of that?
Yeah.
It's not always the best.
It's not always the best. I will say that since I've gotten my MeUndies, I have found myself reaching for them. The underwear drawer is like a bottomless pit, guys. At least mine is. It's just like a million underwears in there. And I'm just like rooting around for stuff. But I always find myself like gravitating towards them because they are so comfortable. And I was like truly like surprised by how great the quality is.
Yes.
And I have washed them, thank goodness, since. And they've like really held up in the wash.
Held up, yes.
Sometimes like underwear literally disintegrates when you wash it.
Right.
And it has been just really nice. I really like it.
Yeah, like the first time I got it in the package, I picked it up, I was like, oh, this feels
Like,
really
really nice.
really well made.
Yeah.
Feels well in the hand, feels well on your loins or whatever you want to call it. It's like really...
On your hiney?
Yes, well made. Comes in a wide variety of sizes that will flatter every type of body that you
Yes,
have. And some
very
really
flattering.
very fun designs as well.
I do like the designs.
Extremely fun, and if you want to do a matching his and hers design, you absolutely can do that.
They also have a pretty good loungewear collection. So they have like joggers and hoodies and things like that as well. So, and all of that is very comfortable and also very high quality.
Yes. So get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/KitandKrysta. That's MeUndies.com/KitandKrysta for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
Ooh, we'll put the link right over here and also in the description below. All right, here
story
comes
time.
the joke. Kid is trapped in the
So there's a reason we're doing the stories, which is I've been reading the Impact of Iwata book, which we'll talk about in, well, I had nowhere else to put it, so I put it in games we're playing, but we'll talk about it there. But it made me think about Mr. Iwata, and I was like, oh, we got some great stories about Mr. Iwata, so this felt like a good time to do it. So this is, we're going to go back to 2011 for this one, which was, you may recall, the first of 2 E3s that the Wii U had before it actually came out.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is this shocking thing that we actually stretched this out to 2 E3s before it actually came out.
Right.
So we did something unusual at that E3. We would typically have one event that we would call a developer roundtable that we would do at the evening of the first night, that Tuesday of E3.
Night. Yep. So, the morning of that Tuesday is usually the big press conference.
Yes.
And then we do this like smaller developer roundtable with more media, more press, and it'd be like a more intimate sort of event.
The LA Convention Center had this little theater that sat about 300 people. Theater 411.
411, yes.
Which we had just constantly booked every year. Like we'll take it.
We would do like big meetings in there.
Yeah, we would have our end of day meetings in there, but we would always do this developer roundtable in there. And that's, that was a good event for us. And I would say it reached a point where like the internet made it a little bit obsolete, but there was a stretch where this was a really key event.
Yeah, you ran that
event
for a long time.
It was a key event that kind of from when I joined up through when we stopped doing it, I was generally in charge of.
Yeah. I used to run the PowerPoints.
Yes. I needed somebody I could trust to hit the button at the right time.
I could always do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
So in 2011, yes, we had the typical Tuesday night roundtable, and I think that year it was a lot of different stuff. We had Skyward Sword. I think we had some 3DS stuff.
Right. Yeah.
As I was reading up, I think Mr. Miyamoto was teasing a Pikmin game, which he always was.
He always loves to do that.
He loved to do
There's
that.
a lot of leaks that happen out of or not like leaks, but just people just got loose lips after the roundtable.
Let it slip.
Fire Emblem was famously leaked after a roundtable to the one and only Rich George that used to work at IGN, now at Sega.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
So,
but yeah.
So that was the Tuesday event, which had no Wii U content at all.
Right.
But we decided to do a second roundtable for the next day, and this one was going to be really different. It was going to be focused on the Wii U, but it was also done in conjunction with a major partner. So it would be all about them taking the stage and them talking about how much they love the Wii U and showing off the games that they had for it. So the partner was Ubisoft, which the people of Japan refer to as Ubisoft for reasons I don't understand. The name of the company is Ubisoft.
Yeah, but it's Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. So this was an interesting one to plan for because we really did it in a different kind of way. It would have been really hard for us to lead the planning of 2 back-to-back events like that. For this one, though, it was like, well, let's let Ubisoft take the lead. We'll be there to support them. We will be there to help them execute it. But as far as coming up with the content, coming up with all the details of how they want to do it, like we're going to really let them do that.
Right.
So that was good. But I was still involved. It was kind of the Nintendo contact on this, working with our licensing team and coming together. And the thing, no matter what, these roundtables come together at the last minute.
They really do.
For reasons I don't...
Yeah.
I think these developers are just so busy.
You're busy during E3, and there's also like other press conferences. Ubisoft had their own
They've got
press
other things to do
that they're doing and other events.
I think that was the year they had their cursed conference with that Mr. Caffeine guy.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, if you search up like worst E3 moments, that guy's going to be in it. Cringe. So... It was in the evening, it was at the end of the day, and kind of, we didn't really get a chance to rehearse this, was the other thing.
Right. There's always never a rehearsal.
Like, a few of us came in to, like, look at the room and talk about the setup and get it all good, but there was not an extended rehearsal like there always was with the Nintendo one. We would always have an extensive rehearsal the day before, and that's when a lot of stuff got ironed out. So this one was done a little bit on the fly. We were going to open this event with this big moment with Mr. Iwata and Yves Guillemot, who is the head of Ubisoft. And they was like, well, this is going to be a symbolic, start to this event. They're going to, talk about the great partnership and the great relationship that Nintendo
two big heads of
Ubisoft
two
head,
companies.
and that's going to be a wow moment for everybody because Mr. Iwata would often go to these. He would sit in the back, or he would not make a big deal. He was not speaking at these often.
He's not speaking at those because he spoke during the press conference.
Yeah, he's done his thing, and it's up to somebody else. So that was going to be like a big surprise, wow moment to have these two heads of these companies here to get it started. So again, we didn't have a chance to rehearse this, so everybody's trickling in like an hour before, and the question comes up of like, so these guys are going to be here, but we want this to be a big surprise. So where can we basically stash them so people don't just see them like out and about?
Yeah,
and be
because the theater's pretty small.
Right.
And it's like, there's really nowhere, there's no like green room or backstage or any of that stuff.
There's not. So the option was like, well, they could basically hide behind this like riser where the other people are going to be standing. It's like, that's a little awkward.
Yeah, for these two men to just hide behind this thing.
It's weird, so let's not do that. But then there was this other little like side like storage area.
Yeah, it was like a broom closet.
It was like stacks of chairs and like folding tables and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, this is the only option we have. So these guys are going to have to wait in here once people start coming in. And Kit, your job is to be kind of the person listening for the signal and tell them when it's time
to come out
for them to walk out. So these guys need to go in there about a half hour early because people start coming in.
And getting seated.
People start trickling in and getting seated. So I had a half hour of quality time
in a closet
with these three guys, like in this very small space. Like it was probably, if you made a square of this like recording.
Oh, it's tiny.
Like that was
I've been in that closet. I have mic'd
we've all been in there.
I have mic'd somebody up in that closet for a round table.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is a once in a lifetime experience.
It's kind of awkward.
So I was expecting, I was like, these guys know each other. These guys have met before. Surely they'll be prepared with some
small talk
conversation or like, hey, how's your wife, or something like that. These guys had nothing. There was nothing. Like it was just like, like awkward, like looking at the watch, like what are we gonna do here? So like,
did you like try to make some conversation?
Well, I did kind of like. I did feel it, like the pressure upon me to like not make this awkward. So we go with the can't lose with that. How's your show? How's your show going? How's that going? And people,
anything you're excited about that you saw, like that kind of
anything
stuff?
Standing out like that. All right, that got them going. That was a little icebreaker. I do remember I told the story to Yves Guillemot of. I had become like a major Assassin's Creed fan at this point. I told him the story of like, Assassin's Creed 2 inspired me
you went to Italy.
Go to Italy, and he really enjoyed that story. And that kind of led to some other conversations of like, where have we all been traveling, or so we had a nice vacation here or there.
Yeah.
So we somehow make it past this awkward 30 minutes.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Especially when you don't have a drink in front of you.
And again, like Mr. Iwata is like a really charismatic guy, and he speaks great English, so it's not like there was any issue.
He's funny. He jokes around all the time.
So we eventually got there. We eventually got this room going, but it was a little awkward for starters.
Beginning, and also it's such a tight space.
Right.
Like there's nowhere to like. You can't even go like look at your phone for a second.
Exactly, because the other person's just right in your face.
Right.
So eventually, like, all right, we're getting close, start to listen, send out Mr. Iwata first. People were genuinely surprised, like, oh my gosh, Mr. Iwata's here, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And he makes some remarks, and then we send out Yves Guillemot, and they, this was not the unprecedented partnership, but it was close to it. And they talked about how much they love each other and the philosophy of each company, and that was great.
Yes.
Looking at the content of this event was interesting in hindsight.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it never materialized.
Right.
There was a big chunk of time spent on this Ghost Recon online game for Wii U, which...
That never happened.
It never happened.
Right.
And they had a pretty extensive, like, hands-on demo of these guys playing a one-on-one Ghost Recon match.
Right.
Which was really boring.
It was very boring.
And the game looked extremely early. So it was not like the most flattering way to depict this game, I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not off to a good start. And then someone came up and they talked very generally about how Assassin's Creed was coming.
Yeah, and that eventually did
to the Wii U. It did, but like I also remember
Creed,
like after all of these segments, they had a Q&A.
Yeah.
And like these guys were really ducking these questions of like, well, what Assassin's Creed is it? Is it a new one? Is it exclusive? And they were like, we can't talk about this.
Talk about that,
Or they were also like bugging them with questions about the hardware because this was the first year of the hardware and people didn't know.
Yeah, what is the power capacity?
And they had been clearly told like, do not reveal any new information about this. Like you can talk about like as a developer how it's great to have these tools, but like there were a lot of these like we can't talk about this. And then the last thing they talked about, and I thought, I'd actually completely forgotten about this. They revealed this game called Killer Freaks from Outer Space, which was this first-person shooter of like these kind of cartoony aliens had taken over. And I think they talked about how these were like evolved from the Rabid design. So it was like a mature shooter, but it was also kind of like funny and goofy.
Right.
And that's another thing that never materialized, but that evolved into Zombie U. So within a year, they had taken that concept and changed it
and just skinned it
into Zombie U.
Yeah,
which is interesting to show like how quickly a concept can change. Because I mean, literally a year.
Totally different game.
Like they didn't have that. I mean, they had a trailer. They had some stuff to show from this Killer Freaks game, but that's pretty fast turnaround to completely change what that game is. And then on that stage next year, Reggie was getting zombified.
He was getting zombified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the last year that we did one of these. I would not say this event was a resounding success. Not just because a lot of these things never came out or never materialized the way they wanted. The games just didn't look great. Nintendo's found other ways since then to really highlight what developers are doing. So I would say this was not the greatest moment of these
early days.
E3 developer roundtables.
Early days, sort of, the formula was very different, and the way that you got news out to people was so different.
Yeah.
You wanted to make the most of everyone being in LA and being in the same space, and that was really like the schedule that Nintendo had for a really long time at E3. Press conference on Tuesday, roundtable Tuesday night, and then Wednesday and Thursday were all your demos. Like that was literally the schedule for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So really interesting, like truly a thing that doesn't and has no place in 2024, to really exist anymore, like in that form. But interesting to look back on. And yeah, those roundtables were always dicey. I remember, every time we do one of these, going into that, you're just like, who's going to leak something? Because usually something did get leaked.
This whole event is available on Ubisoft's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is different. Nintendo, we never wanted them to be streamed or be like we would do like a clips, like a highlights from it because there was so much that was unexpected. It was like
that's what I'm saying.
Is Mr. Miyamoto going to say something nutty or something crazy happen that we don't want people to see? So. But Ubisoft was good with it being up, so that's an interesting little artifact from the past if you want to.
And then you can imagine Kit and Mr. Iwata and the head of Ubisoft in a closet 30 minutes before that video started.
Far and away the tallest of the three in there. Even Guillemot is he's not the tallest guy up there.
Not the tallest guy. Mr. Iwata is a normal height, 5'8", probably.
Yeah. All right.
Fun stuff.
Let's go to the games we're playing and a book.
So
with Helldivers 2, which is the game of the moment.
There's so many of these games du jour these days that you look at and there's always like some reporting about like these crazy numbers, concurrent players.
Yeah, we're getting into Palworld territory with this game.
And then there's going to be a drop off. It's just this is the cycle now. I see.
We reached a point mid last week where like we got to check this game out. People seem to be way into this game, so
it's fun.
We actually got some codes from Sony, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
And I will say I've really enjoyed the Helldivers 2 that I have played when I have not been getting server full messages.
That's true.
Which is kind of part 2.
Y'all gotta log off, guys.
Part 2 of the big story of this.
People are saying that people that don't log off is ruining it for the rest of us.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, you gotta log off.
Yeah.
Don't just leave it on when you're like taking a nap.
The one day that I actually had the problem, I just couldn't play at all, was Sunday night.
I'm busy, huh?
Yeah, and the other nights I was getting the error, but I would pretty quickly cycle in. But I kept it going for like 5 minutes on Sunday. I was like,
I was playing in the middle of the day, like on I think it was like Friday, but it was like the middle of the day, so I think it was okay for me.
Yeah,
but I was like still pretty early on. This game is legit fun, though. It is campy. It is, it has it's like Starship Troopers.
Well, I mean, maybe people are just exhausted from the Pal World is ripping off Pokemon conversation because this game is ripping off Starship Troopers in a very extreme way.
It's fine. Is it fine? I don't know.
That's a great movie, by the way. If
If
you haven't seen it, you should see it.
Yes.
But it's kind of this sci-fi, almost parodying this very imperialistic, we're bringing democracy to
we're gonna blast
to the galaxy.
Democracy.
Right, where they're just conscripting people based on this there's a lot of made up propaganda of these aliens, which are just these bugs, which is exactly what's in Starship Troopers, are gonna come and eat your family alive if you don't join up and get shipped out, and we'll treat you like a piece of meat. To join these wars.
And it's got these real sort of just generic things gotta put on your hero's cape, stuff like that, which is hilarious.
Yeah. And they even make you you get to name your ship.
Yes.
And do you remember what you named your ship?
Mine is the Princess of Justice.
Oh yeah, mine is the Imperium of Audacity or something like that. You can make up some really goofy names.
It's awesome.
With stuff like that. But this is a co-op third-person shooter.
Yep.
It's kind of mission-based, where you can go off onto it seems like there's a lot of planets.
A lot.
And do
some
these
of them are really hard.
These pretty focused missions where some of it can be destroy the alien eggs, and then it always ends with this high-pressure extraction sequence,
right?
Where the ship is coming to get you, and you have to hold out in this spot for a minute while the ship comes
and lands. And
right.
Stuff.
So it's up to 4 players. You can do it solo. You still need to log into the servers to even play it solo.
Right.
It's a lot more fun if you're playing with other people.
By yourself.
The game's kind of hard.
It's hard by yourself.
Yeah, it does kind of expect there to be multiple people because there are times you get just circled by these enemies.
Right. You're total, and it's when you die, you fail basically.
Right. The game. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the game has a pretty interesting way for you to customize your gameplay because you can do these different loadouts.
Right.
And you can call for different what is it called in the game?
Stratagems. Yes, this is probably the most unique thing in this game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can take different stratagems with you, and you basically can call it to help you. There's different ones where it's missile strike or some other a supply drop or whatever, and so you can kind of figure out how you want to play, and then take those kinds of stratagems with you, and then figure out with your team who's doing what.
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
And the way you call those in is interesting. You basically have to input a code. It's almost like you put in the Konami code.
It's use a D-pad.
Right.
Literally
press this
up, down, right, left.
Yeah. So that's fun if you're in the heat of the moment. You're trying to
don't
very precisely input this eight digit code. It's kind of like the Like a Dragon dating minigame, the texting minigame. I was that's interesting. That's a fun way to play off the pressure of these.
I've definitely messed up
these intense situations that you can find yourself in. Yeah. So the game's really fun. I can understand why it's taken off. This game is also on PC. It seems like most of the players are on PC.
Yep.
Not as many on PS5. So this game was, published by Sony. I really had to remind myself, what is Helldivers? Why is there Helldivers 2?
What is it 2? Yeah. What is Helldivers 1? I don't think I played
it. It was so I looked it up, but it was a similar idea, but it was top down.
Oh.
And it was a PS3, PS4 Vita era game. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I feel better about not remembering this, but I think it was a PSN, kind of a smaller download game. So it's interesting for them to revisit this, and now for it to take off.
Yeah.
The thing with the servers is a bummer, though, because you only get a limited opportunity to really maximize.
To really capitalize on people's interest.
Right, because Final Fantasy's coming out in 10 days.
I'm saying.
It's like what happened with Pal World when all these other games came out. You're going to have a drop off, so you need to do what you can to cement some sort of lasting power with these.
It's going to be hard. Even with working servers, it's hard to capture people's attention for an extended amount of time.
That's what I was saying. If I was this developer, I'd be kind of annoyed because it's really isn't this why we signed up with Sony to help publish this game? This is not this is not 505 games. No offense to 505 games. 505 games is catching a stray here, but it's this is Sony. This is their platform. yes, I get that this happened unexpectedly on the weekend, but I would be like calling whoever, like, give us the servers, expand the capacity. Right, because this is a hot thing for us. Like, you have no games coming. Like, you need to do what you can to make this a big deal. Like, we held up our bargain. We made a cool game that people want to play. Now you need to help that happen.
Yeah, that's true. And I call it, the game du jour, not as an insulting thing, but it's just what it is nowadays.
Yeah.
Even Power World has seen a really steep drop off, right? So, yeah, you just have such a limited time, like 2 weeks max, really, to get people to play.
Yeah, and again, cement like some sort of a long-term player base who are going to stick around. Obviously, a lot of people are going to drop off.
Yeah.
But you need to make enough of an impact with people who are going to stick around and who hopefully can be that good word of mouth for you over time when you have some update or some new event that you have going on to remind people to come back. But this is a really great surprise. It's cool that we've had so far early on in the year all these surprises.
A couple of surprises, yeah.
Like, I've seen some people saying, like, I could probably make like a legit top 10 games list of what's come out so far this year. I'm like, oh yeah, we're kind of not far, and it's still February.
It's only February. It's
right.
like the middle of February.
Right.
We've had so many like pleasant surprises. You're so right. And we're punctuated with like some legit big games that have come out or are coming out. So for now we're doing okay, I think.
Yeah.
We don't know what the rest of the year is going to look like.
I do think the year is going to be more front-loaded than back-loaded, especially given all this news.
Yeah. So enjoy while you can, everyone.
Yeah, it's really fun so far.
It is really fun, yeah.
All right. Like a Dragon.
Yes, the more
I play this game, the more I am very glad that we are doing this spoiler cast.
Because there's so much to talk about.
The things that I'm able to say about this game is really dwindling now.
Yes, exactly.
Because I checked how many chapters there are. I'm in the final 2 or 3 chapters.
I think I'm in the final like 4 or 5 chapters.
Yeah, you're a little bit behind me now.
Yes.
But that stretch that you're in right now, like, there's a lot that happens story-wise.
A lot has already happened.
There's a lot of twists in this game, and I haven't seen any of them coming.
The way that they have done the storytelling in this game is just remarkable. Like, not only are you constantly just gasping from all the twists and turns and like the emotional moments, the funny moments, but they continue to do such a good job with some of that like social commentary and weaving it in the most seamless ways. And it's just like, how are you doing this? Like, what does your storyboard look like? Because you're a genius. Like, I'm just so impressed. Legit, like one of the, best stories ever, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the last game, which also had a very good story, but it was a bit more like local politics-y.
Yeah.
Where this is more
like broader social norms and trends and issues.
but also just like I think more broadly appealing to anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's been a great story so far. I'm also, and again, I'm trying to dodge spoilers, but you know there are moments where you go back from Hawaii to Japan. Mm-hmm. The balance of how much time of the game is in Hawaii versus in Japan is very different than I expected. Like,
me too.
They were really marketing front and center, like, hey, you're in Hawaii. This game takes place in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. But I think it might be like pretty equal, 50-50. And I'm not.
I kind of like it.
There's a good reason for why, and we'll talk about it in the spoiler cast.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's a letdown or anything like that. Like, they do some really fun things with it to give you a good incentive to go back.
And there's something now to these games because it's been an ongoing series for such a long time that there's such like a big cast of characters.
Yes. And
a cast of characters that you love, that we all love now. We have like such like a deep relationship with all of them. But you got to figure out a way how to handle all of these characters, how to weave them into the story.
That could be a pro and a con, because every now and then there's a guy who I think they're expecting it to be a big reveal. Like, who's that?
There's a lot of people.
I need a reminder on this guy.
Where I'm like, it is a big reveal for me. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, you're back.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Right.
But and this game has a lot of playable characters.
Yes.
And it needs to juggle like a huge sort of bench of playable characters.
Right. There is a reason why it makes sense for them to have this many characters.
Yes, and I think that the way that they figured out how to allow you to play as all of these characters in one game is quite clever, actually, and it makes sense to me, you know. And when I'm playing through the game and I'm switching between these characters, I'm trying to be so like dodgy right now. It's so
I'm really worried right now.
It's really hard.
I'm super worried. Just stop.
And
bail out.
When you're doing that, it makes sense. Like it doesn't feel like clunky or anything like that. Is my point.
Right.
So yeah, I really like that so far.
One other thing that I have done is I had been playing the game in Japanese.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I just want to see what the English voice track is like, because I continue.
There are some characters where
I continue to have. I think we have the same issue where some of the transitions between the Japanese dialogue and in the Japanese track, the English dialogue is not handled.
It's not
as good as it could.
Great. Yeah.
And there's one character who's supposed to be bilingual, who seems like a native of Hawaii, who just has some of the worst English that you could imagine. So I specifically switched it over. I was like, what does this character specifically sound like in English? I haven't, that character has not since returned, so I'm going to keep playing until I get to it. The English track is not great, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's
I don't want to hear Ichi in English.
It's pretty hokey, but I'm going to stick, I really want an answer to that question of what does this one
we need to understand
specific character sound like, so I'm going to keep going for as long as I need to.
Maybe I can, when I'm in a place where I think he might show up again.
Yeah, I mean, just do it for like an hour just to compare and contrast. The Tomizawa voice I do approve of because it's appropriately derpy.
People did not like her Tomizawa.
I don't care. You found the tweet. You emerged from the NyQuil slumber to send me this tweet of like, I guess
the real IRL Tomizawa.
I guess somebody on the dev team looked exactly like Tomizawa.
Oh,
which,
baby.
I was like, I knew this. I knew this was a real person. I knew this.
Someone was based off.
Because we know this person. Like not literally, but we have seen this type of person.
Archetype.
This archetype multiple times, many times.
Oh boy!
Yeah. All right, we're cutting this section here.
Slander stops here.
We're cutting this section here.
We can't talk about this anymore.
You need to power through and finish this game.
No problem.
We've reached the. So I have looked because I was like, I need to make sure I finish this game in time to do the spoiler cast.
We will record the spoiler cast next week.
But on how long to beat, it says if you are just doing the main story, 60 hours. When I saw that, I got very nervous. But now I am on, again, like the second or third to last chapter.
How can those chapters be like 20 hours
And
each?
I'm like early 30s in terms of hours. So it's like, I don't think these 3 chapters are going to take 20 hours.
You know what's going to happen is you're going to have to become a Sujima master.
Oh my God!
Within the last hour
I'm gonna
of the
be
game.
I'm gonna be really mad if that
and
happens.
then you're gonna have to play 30 hours.
The
of
last
that.
boss is a Sujimon. I'm gonna be so.
You have no Sujimon.
I need a level 99 Sujimon.
You have no gotchas. You have nothing.
I'm gonna be mad if that happens.
You have not given out any gift boxes to anyone, and now what are you gonna do?
I still do that. I do that in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If one of the little guys pops up.
You have not gone to any Pokestops.
I do that. I'll do that, but I don't play that anymore.
I'm totally kidding.
Okay, moving on. The book, Impact of Iwata. So we got sent this from the Nintendo Force team. Thank you very much. And I think the reason we got it was because I actually wrote a little blurb for it. So the premise of this book is that Iwata's life is very well documented, but it's not in any one single place. So there's the other Iwata book that came out.
Right.
There's all the Iwata asks. There's other interviews that have happened. Like, there's a lot of Iwata out there. But again, like, if you want just the all-in-one story, there's nothing that is covering that.
Right.
So that's kind of the purpose of this book. So it's not necessarily like
new
introducing new stories or like, you know.
Just like sort of collecting what's out there into one.
Right. And it is told, often from the perspective of the author, and oftentimes he'll interject, his feelings when certain things happened, or, he's worked as a journalist for a long time, so he'll talk about, when he went to E3 and he saw Mr. Iwata in this setting or in this format, and kind of how it felt to him from that perspective, which I think is good and helps it give it kind of a more personal feeling than just like we're just retelling the facts. It does also do this interesting thing where it'll take the book is Impact of Iwata, and a lot of the chapters are like, here's a thing that he did, and here was the long-term impact of it. So, for example, they talk about how he worked on the NES pinball game, and he worked on the physics of the ball, so it felt just right. So then they'll extrapolate and here's what happened with the future of pinball games, and there'll be like a spread that's like separate from the main book, and it'll tell you from here's how this thing branched out and became this popular thing. So that's something interesting that it does. But again, like the part that I contributed, there are probably maybe 15 or so little like one-pager contributions from other people who talked about, whether they are an expert in some, one of the chapters, or in my case, I came in to write about Nintendo Direct, because there's a whole chapter on Nintendo Direct, and I worked on Nintendo Direct, and I worked with him in that era as well. So that's another nice little touch of getting these other perspectives from people who would know about it really well. Like, for example, Ant Dude wrote about, he wrote the thing on the Kirby chapter, which happened when Mr. Iwata was at HAL. So they were doing a Kickstarter for this. That was super successful. I think the book is just available. You can just buy it now. I don't think you need to do anything else, and you can just buy it. So I like it. It's a nice thing to have on the bookshelf, and I think it's just a nice. I appreciate having everything in one place. Yeah, totally. That said, where is my coffee table book of Iwata Ass, compiling them all? There is no limit to how much I will pay for this.
Please.
Just print it out from the websites. I don't care.
Exactly.
Put it on some glossy paper and I'll pay you $1,000 for it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not joking. Please.
Oh my goodness. Someone's just, it's a great idea. Someone just needs to pick it up.
And only one person can. Nintendo.
Why?
They own that stuff. You think some Joe Schmo's going to sell the Iwata Ass book and they're going to let that happen? Or you think? Come on. Give me a break.
Too bad.
Whew. All right. So we just mentioned the Like a Dragon spoiler cast that we're doing, and that is a great perk that you can only get by being a Kit and Krysta Patreon subscriber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have lots of exclusives if you join our wonderful Patreon community at patreon.com/Kit and Krysta. Not only do you get cool content like a monthly spoiler cast, and this is going to be a good one because we have been holding back
it's perfect.
All of the things in our little hearts about Like a Dragon. So we can't wait to spill the beans on the spoiler cast, but you also get bonus Q&As, you get access to our exclusive Discord server, you get behind the scenes, you get monthly meetups, so much more. And if you want to join, it starts as just $2 a month, so it's very easy to get your foot in the door. Yes.
So give it a look.
Please.
Let's get into some questions from our community, and that's another thing. We get every question every week exclusively from Patreon. Our first question is from Baby Chris. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I was listening to the latest podcast and I had a thought. What is one decision that Nintendo made during the Switch era that had you flabbergasted? Mine would be Bluetooth audio support. Let me explain. During the beginning days of the Switch, there was no Bluetooth audio support for headphones. For years, people and companies had to make third-party options to use Bluetooth headphones. And then after 4 years, Nintendo did a software update to support it, meaning they could have done it from the start. I'm curious to hear your flabbergasted stories. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, the Bluetooth.
How did you get flabbergasted?
By what the Switch lacked?
What was some decision that Nintendo made? I'll go ahead.
Okay.
We were just talking about handling of classic games.
Aha.
I continue to be flabbergasted about that. If you've got them, put them out. Don't drip feed this. I'm very concerned that we're going to do this again with the next generation. I don't love that. And really, make it. It's a great selling point for NSO, but you could take it a lot further. Really put some resources into getting some of the big third-party games from companies who maybe are hesitant.
You have a lot of money. You have $11 billion.
You're the richest company in Japan, by all means.
Buy it.
Spend some money.
I know.
Write Square Enix a check. Write somebody a check.
You can.
And get some of these games.
Exactly.
So this whole, we're doing it, but we're kind of not going all out. That.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is not exclusive to the Switch either.
No.
This has been...
This rights issue.
We thought we were criticizing the Virtual Console, but it turns out the Virtual Console was actually great. If only we knew.
If only we knew.
Yeah.
The grass is always greener.
If only we knew.
Yeah. I have two. One is that basically Nintendo likes to sort of be really obsessed with stupid stuff. Things like when they improved the kickstand on the Switch.
Oh.
You're like, this is not that big of a deal, but we gotta like really market this for some reason because that's the thing. And then like the new audio, it's like it sounds the same.
This was all in the OLED.
Yeah, like when it goes from like sort of talking about these little hardware improvements, they seem to be like they always get like hung up on the silliest things.
That's something. Like, the kickstand is better.
Sure.
It doesn't just tip over now.
Boring.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one is definitely one that I'm just like, why do we care about this?
But that was one of the things that would happen internally when you're in some meeting and people are like rattling off like, oh yeah, we got this new OLED coming, it'll have the great screen. And then there's always some goody two-shoes like, and the audio's improved, and the kickstand's gonna be really great. It's like, get out of here. Get out of my face, Tomizawa.
Stop slandering him. Yeah, some little like butt kisser is always like getting like,
I've memorized every little minute detail. It's 10 decibels louder.
Like, who cares?
Be quiet.
But they do like to get like hung up on it.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm always flabbergasted about with Nintendo, and hopefully they're doing a bit of a better job now, is like the preservation of their own history. I'm always just like, what the heck? We were just talking about the Ask Iwata stuff, and like it's just like this, gold mine of cool stuff that just like sits unused on some website, or like you got all this stuff that's like probably stowed away somewhere that no one has even thought about or seen. And we were talking about last week when some of the old guard, like when they like pass away, like these are real realities. Mm-hmm. Like what happens to that history? And they just seem so cavalier about it. Like we used to be like, hey, let's do this, this content that's like talking about Nintendo's history. It's like, why would we do that? That's stupid.
Yeah.
We would never do something like that. It's like, okay. So that continues to flabbergast me.
Okay. Next question is from Kai X. On the Nintendo podcast, you doubled down on your apathy toward HD Rumble. If you were tasked with incorporating HD Rumble into some of the Switch's biggest hits, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom, Xenoblade, etc., how would you take advantage of this feature?
I don't wanna.
I don't need anything that fancy with the like a lot of PlayStation 5 games will just have a very subtle thing where like if your character is running, you'll just feel like footsteps. Like that's enough for me.
Yeah, that's like a little step towards additional immersion that feels not like you're trying too hard.
Right.
Yeah, PS5, the DualSense controller does a good job. Like heartbeats.
Sure.
Like sometimes you can feel like the heartbeat.
Right.
If you're playing like a scary game.
Right. Or if you're playing like, one of those Zelda games, I'm sure there's something you can do where like with the weapon type, you can have something that feels a little bit different. If it's like a sword versus a spear, I'm sure it can do something.
Like some sort of feedback
Some sort of feedback, yes.
Yeah.
And again, the companies that just like max it out and just have it, like I really am upset with that. Like
that's just weird.
I can't.
What are you doing?
Where it not only feels bad, but it sounds loud.
It's really
this is not okay. Just turn it off then.
They're like flipping a switch that says like max
it out. I don't
Rumble.
care. Just blast it. Who cares? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't need it to be like 1-2 switch level implementation, but I mean you can do something simple that feels good.
If you wanted to go there, my point is that you can't do a little bit and then nothing at all. Or I mean you have to go either like all the way or nothing at all. You know what I mean? Like if you want to use it, you can't just have it be like a little gimmick that you have for one part of the game, like a tiny portion of the game.
So my running example does not work for you.
Well, running is okay because you're running all the time.
Okay.
But like, let's say like you really wanted to use this feature, like you truly wanted to take advantage of it, you need to integrate it into the entire game then. And if you're like, let's say you're doing it for Tears of the Kingdom, then like all your shrines will have to have like some sort of HD Rumble implementation. Like is it like you count the balls and whatever, like that's part of the puzzle. Like you gotta integrate it into the game in like a real
or
way.
In like Mario Odyssey, like when you're throwing Cappy, there could be some feedback for like when you release and when you catch Cappy again. There could be something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want it to get like tiresome and old if it's something you're doing so much, but again, I'm not a game developer. Let them figure it out.
My point is that you can't just like have it show up for a split second.
Yeah.
that's your like way to implement it. If you're going to implement it, put it into the core gameplay.
Right. Jason Ball 34 is next. Hi! With the Sora amiibo releasing, Nintendo used the "Everyone is here" tagline on social media today for what may be the last time. It makes me realize how un-Nintendo that whole premise is. Nintendo always wants people to care about the next new thing, not old things. I'm sure in 2018, they were like, who cares about Snake coming back? He was so 10 years ago. Focus on the new fighters marketing team. Imagine if Nintendo had a similar "we must include everything that ever existed" mentality with NSO/Virtual Console. Everything would be different. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Was it as difficult to get Nintendo behind the "Everyone is here" tagline as I imagined it was? What other game or venture of theirs would you also like to see that tagline applied to?
Not at all. That was like the big selling point from the very beginning of that game. And it was absolutely like the marketing like directive to talk about how just like broad the scope of fighters were, and every fighter that was revealed was given, as you guys know, its own very special, like very complicated reveal, and was treated, in a way where it was very special. And that was something about this game that was like a main selling point, is that everyone is here. Like all the characters that you love are here.
It was also like this was part of Sakurai's vision, so nobody was pushing back on this.
No.
And that's an important distinction of Sakurai is different from Nintendo, and he has different points of view on these things. So while maybe Nintendo is less into looking backwards, he had a strong vision for that, and he's reached a point where he can do what he wants, and nobody's going to give him a hard time about it. So it's just like, let's make this cool, let's make this work. And I think for most people it's fine, but you may see some inconsistencies, but it's obviously served them well. Yeah,
and I think too, it goes back to like the general premise of what makes Smash fun, is that it's like this great crossover of all of this great, all these great characters from video games, and that was Sakurai's original vision, and I think he was finally able to like truly pay that vision off in the latest, in Ultimate, because like truly he was able to put in like everyone that he wanted to. Right. So yeah, that was very much like a accepted thing when we were working on the game.
Phantom Cookie is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I have two questions. We're going to read one. Related to your latest video talking about Nintendo potentially being disappointed by Tears of the Kingdom sales, you mentioned that Nintendo has almost unrealistically high expectations for their games. One game that must have surpassed Nintendo's expectations is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with a mind-blowing 60+ million sales now. Back in 2017, do you think anyone at Nintendo believed Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would become the juggernaut it has become? Did anyone project a 60 million plus sales for the game? No, nobody expected that. Yeah,
no one expected this, and I think that's why it took them kind of a long time to get on that booster course train.
Yeah.
Because if they had expected that, I think they would have started supporting the game a long time ago, which would have been great.
Right.
It still was fine because people just wanted to play Mario Kart forever, and then they saw the potential, I think, and then started doing the booster courses. But now they know better. Now they know that for Mario Kart 9, they can expect something huge like this, and hopefully, they will have plans to like have it be more almost like a live service kind of thing, and constantly updating.
Right. And I think the other game that fell into this category of, nobody expected the success was Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And obviously the circumstances of that are something that nobody saw coming, and frankly, nobody wanted. But, and that was one where, people were happy with that, but it was always a very delicate situation because you understood people are trapped at home, so of course this is the perfect game for that. So let's be very careful about how we talk about it so as not to take advantage of that.
And I think the development team was also very sensitive to it too, because it's like the game is selling so well, but how much is, you can't help yourself but have these thoughts. Like how much of it was the situation and how much is it the actual game? Right. And then you feel, you kind of get a little imposter.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. Yeah. But you do get a little imposter syndrome, I think, because you're like, it might not be me. It might not be what I did.
Yeah.
And then, can I do it again?
Right.
Which is always, it's a really tricky thing to have to grapple with, But yeah, those are two good examples of where sales were a surprise. And we did not get asked to move the forecast. Because usually we always get asked to move the forecast. Yeah.
Riven has a question. Did Nintendo ever write or plan something with the intent it would become a meme? Something like Reggie's My Body is Ready. Were there any such things written to become memes that completely failed to do so? I have one that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, I have one too.
So,
actually.
I mean, first of all, this is hard to do. Like, the way things become memes, it's like when we were asked, like, hit the viral button, make this tweet go viral.
Yeah.
It's like you can't manufacture that.
Manufacture
like, there's something unique about it being organic in the first place. My example is non-specific action hero, which was integrated into that video in such a way where I thought they're like, oh, people are gonna love this.
They're gonna meme this.
And the way that the confirmation that they felt this way was that at that E3 they had that figure with them, and there were a couple times where like
they would like bring it.
Like, hey, this is cool, isn't it?
Guys?
You remember this?
It's funny. And then no one thought it was funny.
And that's kind of why I hated non-specific action hero, because it felt very
they're trying too hard.
Inauthentic. Like we're trying really hard to make this into a thing when it. Let's be honest, it sucks.
It was really boring and stupid. Yeah, this is where like humor is so subjective.
Yeah.
You can't really like, I mean, unless you're like a stand-up comedian or something like that. It's hard to like manufacture these moments and these jokes, and it's hard to like manufacture a moment that the community itself is the one that is kind of propelling it. That said, though, the things that Reggie would say in these press conferences were 100% written for like impact.
Yeah.
You know, when he said his famous line about, you know, kicking butt and taking names, and when he said this line, like certainly it was written, and Reggie had like a really good relationship with the person that was writing all of his stuff, and it was written in a way where, you know, it would like sort of continue to propel like Reggie's persona and his authority and all that stuff. So while it was not like intended to be like, haha, this is definitely going to get memed, it's definitely intended for it to be impactful.
Another example is when you and I wrote the No Johns.
That was my example.
In the Smash Brothers script. And that was not meant to be, I mean, that was meant to be like a connecting point with the Smash community. It's like, hey, we know kind of, you know, the like internal slang that you have.
Yeah.
We're not so far apart.
Right.
Obviously, it became meme, which is a fun thing, but that was not the plan.
Yeah, I did have to call him at like 7 a.m. to explain to him.
Who's John? What do I need to know about John?
Yeah,
John
like,
who we're talking about?
Because we were shooting that video so early. I was like, I need to call him. He's like, what does this line mean? And he's like, right with that script. And I was like, I'm going to explain to you. And he was like, oh, okay, I got it. Yeah. I'm good. That was all. There was also that was also like the same shoot where they brought in the pancakes to Canada.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about that.
You don't like the pancakes.
The Natrix is next. Hey guys, when I bought my PS5, it didn't take me very long to decide that I really didn't need my PS4 anymore, considering that all my games, both digital and physical, were backwards compatible. I'm someone who prefers to minimize where I can, especially when it comes to gaming and tech. How would you feel if the Switch 2 released as more of a major Switch 1 upgrade/replacement rather than an upward sidestep like how the Wii U to the Switch was? If this happens to be the case, will you still hang on to your old Switch or will you dispose of it then properly, hopefully by selling or giving it away, lol?
Garbage. No, just kidding.
No!
Just kidding.
You can't do that.
I have an OLED now. My first gen Switch, I do the hand-me-downs to the little cousins in my life, you know? So all my little cousins have my old Nintendo Switch.
But what about your Switch OLED? What are you going to do with that?
If it's like completely backwards compatible and all that stuff, I'll give it away.
All right.
Yeah, I have lots of people that would love my hand-me-downs.
I have, let's see, I have 3 Switches. So there was the original, there was that little upgrade with the small battery update, and then the OLED. And I've just held on to it. And I've reached this point now, I don't get rid of anything. Honestly, gaming-wise, I was like, this is going to be useful or come in handy at some point. Yeah. Well, look, I dug up my Wii U so we could do stuff with it. At some point, we're going to want to do something on this Switch.
The point is that the Switch 2 would just work.
I don't care. I'm going to hold on to it. It's fine.
You can give it away.
You never know. These things are going up in value. Stuff's going up in value. I don't know.
You're never going to sell it either. So what's the point of talking about value?
At some point, there might be some. I will hit a point where I will sell some of these. You
gotta do that.
Look, this Devil's Third just keeps getting more and more valuable, okay?
Well, you better get going with
If anybody
some
wants to
eBay
make me an
sales.
offer I can't refuse on a sealed copy of Devil's Third, I'm all ears. My messages are open, but
You get that eBay
it better
sale going
it better
out.
be a serious offer, is all I'm going to say.
Put your vote with your wallet, as they say. Put your money.
Yes.
Put your money.
Yes.
Where
How
your mouth
high can it go, though? I don't know. It just keeps going up. It's like the Nintendo stock.
You're
It just keeps going
forever
up.
in this like loop of.
I don't care.
whatever.
I like having it.
But I'm
Whatever.
happy to hand me down to people. I know that.
Maybe you can hand it down to me. I'll hold on to it.
Really?
I don't need multiples.
Do you want
though.
multiple?
No, I
OLEDs?
don't. That's where I draw the line. I don't need multiple of the same thing.
One of each.
Yeah. Last question is actually not a question at all from Smosh Adrian. Hi, Kit and Krysta. This is not so much of a question, but I just truly wanted to thank you both so much for what you guys do. Last year, I was going through a lot of mental health stuff, and I was barely gaming due to it. I had asked you guys a question of how to get out of this slump, and your response truly helped me. Not only did your tips help out, but because of this community and because of both of you, I finally feel like myself. I've been gaming so much lately. Within the past month, I have beaten like 6 games, and I'm now currently playing Persona 3 Reload. I also started making gaming content, and it's been going great. Truly, thank you both for everything. You guys are my comfort podcast. Had to include that in there.
Comment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for just telling us. It
Yes.
means so much. Yes, that's why we keep doing this, right? That's why
right.
we keep doing this. What a great reminder.
All right.
All right.
Time for some great Patreon shout-outs.
Our boss is still our boss.
Continues to be the boss.
Continues to be
Yes.
a great boss.
Right.
Aaron Hash, his beautiful photo is right there.
Take a moment to celebrate the great
Please-
Aaron Hash, our
Please
final
bow
boss.
down to
Wonderful.
His beautiful photo. Thank
We
you.
now have a Discord channel that's 3 people. You, me, and him.
He is calling the shots.
And what we talk about in there, I shan't disclose. I'm not authorized to disclose it.
He did give me an assignment.
Yes.
I was like, oh. He's going to give me a performance review soon.
Right.
I think I'm a little nervous.
There's only one. There's only one
There's
boss.
only one boss.
Yes.
There's only one boss. But we do have multiple superstars.
We
that
do, yes.
We can shout out. Here we go. Ben Eichhorn.
MaruMayhem.
Eigenverse.
KissMyFlapjack.
Mike Chin.
Roy Eschke.
Switching it up _.
Sephazon.
VGmlife.
Link, the hero of wins.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LeBoeuf.
Roberto Nieves.
Fredrik Konradsson.
Andrew Youhas.
Shelly.
Brustache.
And Simon. Okay. And then, of course, our lovely one-up club. Here we go. Aaron Burgundy.
Ale Alejandro.
Astrodev.
Awesome 46.
Bad Moon Horizon.
Benji B.
Bookham Dano.
Bookishly Fab.
Brad SF56.
Brooke Obscura.
Brovac Novak.
Cameron.
Kelly Squirrel.
Chrissy.
Christopher Lay.
Captain Alex.
Primcat.
Christabal.
C. Roper 17.
Cynical Squid.
Daniel Phillips.
Dachshund.
Dark Chaos.
Doinko.
Elite Peach.
Espars 50.
Fart Free 69.
Fairbound.
Fernie and Jess Forever.
Fox Deploy.
Garrett Hallfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
Heroic.
Iris Marin.
Jay Random.
Jabroni Jones.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jeremy Lewis.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hammerly.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Justin Lemminger.
Kawa 2796.
Keith Kwan.
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo.
Christopia Party with Me.
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Linnell Stickman.
Lazy Cat for Coffee.
Lex.
Lit.
M1 IMAT.
Macho Potato.
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G plus Callie Marie.
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Medallion.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Mikey.
Mr. Ryan 07.
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Pond.
Mr. Beamsenden.
MSN Pocket Gamer.
Mytran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Nick.
Ninja 11.
Panda Bugs.
Pank.
Posse Pace.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless.
Raver.
Rain Tech.
Record Rumble.
Rob Osborne.
Rocks.
Rianetta.
Sakura Sky.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu.
Schniggles.
Slowbro.
Snozzle.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citrone.
Stevie Meeks.
Tales of Link.
Ty 120 N64.
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez.
3 Rivers.
Timmy V.
Topher Schmofer.
Totally Joe Ed.
Travis Torline.
Trajawi.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tusku.
Tyler Geis.
Vezvez.
Video Game Stupid.
Vich Mictor.
Viridian.
VirtualBot.
Weeb Kingdom.
WG Grizzy.
What Up Khalil.
YU.
Wicked Davy.
Will Johnson.
Zudiver.
Zada Essam.
Zelgara.
Zapatty.
And Zroid.
Oh my god, that was really long.
Every week, I'm very glad that you do why. my brain does not click with that one. Wait, what?
Lovely. So many beautiful Patreon subscribers. If you'd like to join us, please. It helps keep this podcast going, truly.
It sure does.
Yeah, it's kind of the only way. So, if you want to join us, we're at patreon.com/Kit and Krysta.
If you're watching on video, you can go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up and also leave us a comment. And if you are listening on audio, you can also subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a written review, please.
Please. And we're on the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads.
Wow.
Wow. So good to be
You're really
back.
back to being yourself.
So good to be back. Look at that. Mermaid Peach. Let's go. All right. We are going to wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.